premiership season.
Parks out to the right, steps on goal, superb finish.
Turns, whacks it straight through the middle. Pulls the trigger on goal and goes bang!
'Cause here it comes, here it comes.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
2 seasons seemingly dovetailing, the Rising Hawks and the Flailing Saints. St Kilda are still 6th, but aren't playing anything like it, is what I'm trying to say. Hawthorn, they continue to give glimpses into their bright future. Welcome inside Docklands. It's a beautiful day outside here in Melbourne, but the roof is shut, and I'm reliably informed it was shut all night and all morning, which would please Ross Lyon, no doubt. Ben Cameron alongside Joel Peterson to call all of the action here on Grandstand AFL this afternoon. Karen Peterson, the Carlton AFLW captain, multiple All-Australian and loser on the Top 10 Cheesy Game Show, and Brad Sewell, the man who made the number 12, now worn by Will Day, famous at the Hawthorn Football Club, are both with us. But firstly to you, Joel, great to see you once again. And as I said, we've got the Rising Hawks and the Saints who are in seeming free fall, but in different spots on the AFL ladder.
Yeah, they are, Benny. Good afternoon to everyone listening. The Hawks are such an exciting side. It's just a matter of whether they can put it all together on the day. This game does have a little bit of extra meaning as well. It's played for the Blue Ribbon Cup every year. So that was established in 1999 following the death of Rodney Miller and Gary Silk, who died in the line of action as police officers in 1998. So supporting the Blue Ribbon Foundation. And that goes on the line this afternoon. So the players are out there in the blue and white armbands. But in case they needed any extra motivation today, they've got a bit of silverware to play for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No late changes for either side. So Jake Gresham, who was dropped from the starting team, is the sub, of course, a free agent at the end of the year and linked heavily to Carlton next season. James Blank, which is an interesting choice as the sub for Hawthorn, the tall. Brad Sewell, as I said, the man who made number 12, famous at the Hawthorn Footy Club. Good to see you, Sully, and what are you expecting from your former side?
Yeah, good afternoon all. Great to be here as the crowd slowly files in on our Sunday afternoon. I've really enjoyed watching Hawthorn as the year has played out. They've shown glimpses, as you touched on in the opener, some exciting young talent, and it feels like there's a sense of inevitability that they will string 4 quarters together. It's an exciting brand of football. The supporters are enjoying to watch that. And conversely, you've got St Kilda, who, as you said, seem to be sliding in the opposite direction to which Hawthorn are. And I certainly know which colours I'd prefer to be wearing out there today.
Yeah, I'm not sure brown and gold are the best colours to wear at any time, but possibly on a football field, it's a good option today. Now, Kez Peterson, a loss in the Top 10 Cheesy Game Show. What have you got to say for yourself?
Yeah, I've got a bit of work to do, haven't I? Not a lot. It was a really poor performance on my behalf, and I've got a fair bit of homework to do, that's for sure.
What are you expecting today? St Kilda, since round 5, have only scored from 20% of their inside 50s and haven't looked like the team that they did through the opening 5 rounds of the season. What case can you make for them trying to get it right today against these young Hawks?
No, not much, to be honest. I thought the way that St Kilda started the year was electric. They were exciting. I liked the brand of footy that they were playing. They were contested. The way they moved the ball was fantastic, and we've just seen them just completely capitulate in the rounds following. And, I mean, they hardly had a convincing win last week against North. So, I mean, the one positive that they can take is that Jack Steele returned to form. He had 33 touches and in a best-on-ground performance. But I actually can't see them getting up today. I think Hawthorn, the way that they're playing at the moment, and Sully's already mentioned, the young midfield in particular that they've got, the way that they're playing. They were really brave last week and just fell at the last hurdle against a Richmond side that played pretty well. But yeah, I'm on the Hawks train at the moment. I think the way that Sicily's playing and leading this group is really inspiring for his young players around him. Mitch Lewis played really well last week. He had 4 goals and was absolutely fantastic. And the midfield is, led by Newcomb and Warple and Nash as well. So I like the Hawks. I like the way they're going about. I think they're a young team on the rise.
These two teams did meet in round 11 here at Docklands, and it was Hawthorn who won by 10 points on that day. James Sicily had 43 disposals on that occasion, it was a career high for James Sicily, 22 intercept possessions.
19 marks, Ben.
Yeah.
Not a bad day out.
Did we do that game together? I can't remember if we did.
I was actually down at Geelong watching in disbelief, calling the next game, going, what on earth is happening there?
Well, I did this fixture, and earlier on in the year I did St Kilda and North Melbourne, so I'm sort of doubling up on a lot of fixtures, given that game happened last
Lucky
week.
you.
But I know, I'm a sort of Docklands late Sunday specialist, but I remember we were counting, can James Sicily get to a record number of marks on that occasion? He fell short. Unfortunately, we do have a debutant today, so Brandon Ryan, a mid-season draft pickup just a couple of months ago now, and described by his coach, Sam Mitchell, as uncanny, that he's a little unorthodox in the way he goes about things, will become a crowd favourite. And a former teammate of yours presented him with the jumper today, Mark Williams, the former shotgun. So we'll wait and see whether Brandon Ryan, who's a member of the Brethren with 2 first names, will pull out the shotgun later today.
Yeah, I love these draft levers that the AFL have implemented. There are a number of players outside the AFL system that have the ability to come in and make an impact, and hopefully we'll see that again, if not today, over the course of the rest of the year.
So he's from Bowen Heads. He was playing his local footy at Maribyrnong Park in the Essendon District League. He spent a couple of years on North Melbourne's VFL list before COVID, and then thought, I'll have a crack at this. He got his opportunity at Preston in the VFL competition, and then, picked up by the Hawks in the mid-season draft. So just another... They're interesting journeys, some of the mid-season draftees, and the Hawks have got plenty of them.
And it's an interesting debate. I mean, we hear so much around the mid-season draft, and I spoke at the time about whether the West Coast Eagles should use that lever to get a second player into their system, and whether they could have put someone on the long-term injury list or possibly seen a player retire and open up a spot for that. And the consensus, or one of the arguments put forward, was there's not enough players out there. There's not enough depth, but I don't subscribe to that. It feels like
it's rubbish.
Teams continue to find them when they take a shot on someone in the mid-season draft.
Yeah, I think so too. And when you can bring a mature age player in, it can change the dynamic of the list a little bit and just lift the maturity a little bit. So, I love the idea and the prospect that it brings for players outside of the system.
So the two teams just beginning to huddle up. Jack Steele walking into the middle of Docklands. James Sicily will be fashionably late to the toss in a moment. The umpires in charge of this one, Chris Donlan, John Howarth, Martin Roger and Matthew Young.
Chris Donlan in the top 10.
Yes.
All-time games umpired.
How did you not know that?
I won that one.
Oh, you won that one?
Yeah, that was it's a bit disappointing, isn't it? That's the only one I won was an umpire question.
Sounds to me like you're a suck-up to the umpires.
Hey, Captain, I've got to shake their hands,
correct.
yeah?
Make sure you know their names and say g'day. The two teams just coming together. We might get the early tips. Brad Sewell, which way are you going?
It's hard to go past the form of Hawthorn at the moment.
I'm the same. I'm tipping the Hawks all the way.
Yeah, I think St Kilda just. I don't know why, but I'm just going to have a little bit of blind faith in St Kilda. What about you, Joel?
Hawthorn should have won last week, and if St Kilda were playing anyone else but North Melbourne, they probably would have lost. So I'll be taking the Hawks.
Let's send it downstairs to Ian Cohen, who's put in a mountain of work this weekend. He's been here, there and everywhere on Grandstand AFL, Grandstand NRL. Koza, come in.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Ben, and good afternoon, everyone. You're quite right. I was here Friday night for Melbourne Storm. Yesterday, of course, for the Buddy Franklin and Big Swans win, and today for the Hawks and Saints. Hawks have won the toss, and they will kick to the right-hand end of your ABC Grandstand radio. And as you've identified, Ben, the Hawthorn sub is James Blank with Jade Gresham from the St Kilda Football Club to be in the T-shirt in the back row. So roof is shut, conditions are great. Not a big crowd, it's fair to say, in here at the moment. Probably only 20 to 25,000 at this stage.
So we can still see some of the fading lines from the NRL back on Friday night.
Could we give it a bit of game set bingo this afternoon?
Yeah, possibly.
Andrew Moore style?
I might give a game set bingo if the game's over. Actually, Maury might have that.
I think we have to pay royalties.
Yeah, I might have to pay royalties, so I'll avoid that. Maybe he strikes it.
Yeah, and he
likes it. Hawthorn in their brown and gold stripes with the brown shorts, and Kilda in their red jumper with the black cross and the white shorts. It is a Hawthorn home game. It's the most precariously placed ladder we've seen in recent years. St Kilda just simply must win here on Sunday afternoon at Docklands. It's AFL round 20. You're with Joel Peterson.
A couple of big country lads going up in ruck in Meek and Marshall. Neither of them meek whatsoever. Jones got a kick away acrobatically. He was dragged to the turf by Newcomb. Surging it forward is Wood for the Saints. Picked up at half-back by Bramble. Low kick up the broadcast side wing toward the first gamer in Ryan, who's drawn the match up with Josh Battle and can't get an early touch of the Sherrin. Yellow footy in action under the roof here at Docklands this afternoon. Boundary umpire flings it back in. Front spot for Meek, down decisively to Nash. Been a really good find in midfield for Hawthorn this year. Socket off the ground by Crouch for the Saints. Gains some territory to the logo, intercepted by Weddle. Handball to Nash, now to Warple. Enjoying a good season, kicks inside the 50 and Ryan's latched onto it straight away. What an early glimpse that is.
He looked good, didn't he? He set himself, drifted in front of Lewis and held on to the mark.
So Brandon Ryan out of Barwon Heads and Maribyrnong Park onto Preston's VFL side and now to the Hawks list in the big time. Kicks away to the left and it won't score. It wasn't the most natural set shot routine of all time. Ball with Webster on the last line for the Saints.
He goes short, gives it off to Sinclair, who goes short to Crouch. Look out, nearly run down, just gets a handball away. The Hawks swoop, Warple, handball away to Brockman, looking left and right and snapping. High ball towards the top of the goal square, Moore goes up, Windhager there with him. Bounces out towards the right forward pocket for the Hawks. Wood to mop up, handball away to Wangani Malira. And he's carried out in the tackle. Throw in deep in the right forward pocket. Here for the Hawks, doing the early attacking. No score through the opening 2 minutes on Grandstand AFL.
Deep forward entry. Marshall and Meek lock horns again. Maybe Meek down with the left hand, looking for Warple. Crouch went over the top of it. Moore picked it up. He was tackled and high. And Dylan Moore will get a free kick for Hawthorn. He's 20 from home. Tighter than a 45-degree angle right of centre.
They look on Hawthorn, don't they? The way they were setting up behind the ball just then, even if the ball was repelled by St Kilda.
He's a good finisher usually. That is no exception. Moore's left foot kicks a goal. And the Hawthorn fans hoping there's much more where that came from. First of the game goes to the Hawks. 2.5 minutes in, they lead by one straight kick.
More another great example of this exciting young list that Hawthorn are putting together. He's at the sort of the older end of the younger brigade, but become really dependable and exciting for Hawthorn. And you're right, that they appear on their forward pressure in and around the ball has been fantastic to the start of this game. Saints yet to get a really clean possession.
He's done it from the scrap heap as well. Back in the COVID years, it looked like career over, and from there he's become such a vital cog in this Hawthorn team. Bounce back in the middle. Meek and Marshall. They lock horns initially. Meek taps it down. Marshall goes back and gets it. Quick kick towards half forward for St Kilda. No one there to pick it up. Arriving Bramble. Gets a handball away to Nash for the Hawks. Handball towards Weddle. He's able to gather it. He goes back to Ward. And he goes all the way back to Frost at fullback. He'll kick out towards the wind. Out towards the wing, and Windhager going up where Moore's there for the Hawks.
Newcomb had it, slapped down by Sinclair, applying some good pressure, fighting for it. McDonald gave it up to Sinclair, just toe poked it forward 2 metres to Nash. His handball stolen by Steele, kicks to full forward for the Saints. Caminiti the target, can't take the mark. Higgins crumbing into the left forward pocket, just gets shoved off it by Hardwick, who outlets with the hand pass to Bramble. Low kick up the line's a shocker. Kicks it back to the Wind. He's got a new nickname this afternoon. Windhager pokes it to the edge of the 50. And leading up to mark is Filippo. He's got it right on the edge of the arc. He goes inside. That's a horrible kick. Dropped by Nash. Saints almost a chance. McDonald, though, for Hawthorn. Connects it now and bursting away is Weddle.
Gives a handball away to Moore, who gives it back to Weddle. Always wants to have the mullet flowing and streaming away. Has to backfeed a handball away to Impey. Poor kick, turnover. And Wilkie marks forward of the logo. Comes infield with his kick into the middle of the ground to Marshall. Releases Wangani Malira. His kick knocked down by Meek. Now the Hawks back with it through Warple. At centre half back. Handball to Nash. Handball away to Moore. Handball out towards Hardwick under pressure. Gets a handball away to Ward. Steps his opponent, then chips it short. Right up the middle, good kick for Ryan.
Juggles that one just in front of halfway. Left foot kicks, an absolute perler inside the 50. Brockman was all alone. Has an option over the top in the pocket and takes it up. Got it to Bruce. Marks plays on. You know the rest. Luke Bruce with a second for Hawthorn. And they're doing some damage on the scoreboard early. 2 straight 12. The Saints yet to score. 5.5 minutes played in the opening term.
It was really well worked by Hawthorn. A couple of passages before that play then, a little bit scrappy, a little bit of turnover. Their pressure, it wasn't that St Kilda was applying too much pressure, it was just that Hawthorn was making some pretty ordinary errors. And what I liked about that passage of play is that they spotted up through the middle, and Brandon Ryan's got his hands on the ball. He doesn't have a particularly good-looking kick on him. I think, what was it, Mitchell called him uncanny? He looks a bit uncanny with the way that he kicks the ball, but he made a really good decision and spotted one of his teammates in Brockman inside forward 50, and a really great passage of play from Hawthorn.
The Hawks all over them early. Bounce in the middle. Favours Meek slightly. Gets his hand to it, but following up Marshall. Shovels out a handball for the Saints. Coming in Impey. Now Steele able to pick it up. Handball away to Billings. Off to Hunter Clark. A kick towards half forward. Getting back Mitchell. Spoils it down. Sharman there for the Saints. Handball away to Owens. Handball away to Jones. Now they're inside 50. Billings back feeds a handball to Burns. He'll float a kick towards full forward. Wood goes up and marks. Strong grab. Directly in front, 20 metres out. Mason Wood can go back and try and kick a settler for the Saints.
Well worked by the Saints, just kept taking ground forward. Wasn't pretty, but they made the most of it. Finally found the spare player, and Mason Wood's got to be one of those guys today that steps up for St Kilda and has an impact.
Kicked 13 goals in 18 games this year. Been a revelation on the wing for the Saints. They need this to just steady. And he drives it through the middle. A low bullet on goal. St Kilda's first. Hawthorn 2 straight 12. St Kilda 1 straight 6. We played 7 minutes and change. Opening term, Brad Sewell, Karen Peterson.
Yeah, it was a good settler for St Kilda. They needed to go back and get that quick response, because that's going to settle the nerves and hopefully just allow them to get into their own game style. St Kilda, but Sully mentioned that Wood's going to have a big game for him today, and the other prime movers for St Kilda are going to also have to, particularly around the ball in Billings and Steele and even Sinclair as well, and all three of those guys had a touch in that passage of play. So for St Kilda, the leaders around the middle of the ground are going to have to be the ones to step up and take control.
Mason Wood playing his 19th game of the season today. He's never played more than that in his career. Of course, at North Melbourne since 2014, so 10th year in the system, and starved of opportunity for so long in the blue and white, making good on it for the Saints. Out of the middle, a clearance for St Kilda. Burns got it to Sinclair. Kick to the outer side wing's a good one for Billings. The overlap run comes from Sinclair. Kicks St Kilda up the outer side. Mark's dragged in neatly. Hunter Clark can roll around onto his left boot. Stick it to full forward in the Cordy direction. Just floated over his head. Neat bit of defending. Exiting kick was awkward. Onto the head of Wingard. He does some nice work to get it back to Nash by hand. Now to Weddle. Back to Wingard. Edge of the defensive 50. Off to Bramble. And the Hawks are away.
He'll kick towards Moore. Right there with him is Webster. Both had hands on it. Moore will be paid the mark. High half forward here for Hawthorn. Looks into the pocket, looking for a leading Lewis. Hands to it. Rookie able to spoil it down. Battle comes across. Ryan's there for the Hawks. Overrunning it, Hunter Clark. Wingard picks it up. He'll snap on goal and snap a goal. He turned 30 yesterday, and it was a birthday gift for Chad. He unwraps it and says, thank you very much. Third major of the afternoon for Hawthorn. They're 3 straight 18. St Kilda 1 straight 6. They lead by 12 points nearly 10 minutes into the opening term.
Terrific work rate by Wingard. He was involved in the chain coming out of defensive 50 with a couple of handballs and worked his butt off to get forward. And it wasn't a slow play either. And importantly, Ryan involved in that process as well. He won't get a possession for it, but just diving on the ball, kept the ball in the contest, just doing enough. And as we've seen Wingard on so many occasions, give him a tiny little bit of space around goal, and he will make you hurt.
All Australian at Port Adelaide. Chad Wingard, we know the kind of talent that he's got. He's been ravaged by injury, especially this season. Some odd ones at that. Saints with the clearance out of the middle. Crouch to steal. Long kick inside the forward 50. Through the hands of Hardwick. Attacking it was Caminiti. Hands off to Butler. Around the body for the instant response. It's fast attacking footy under the roof on a Sunday afternoon. 5 goals between the Hawks and the Saints, and we're 10 minutes into the game. Hawthorn 3 straight, St Kilda 2 straight. It's been entertaining early.
So when I came to this game, I didn't expect this to happen in the first 10 minutes. I'm not sure about you, but to have kicked 5 goals and 5 really entertaining goals, it hasn't been poor quality football. It's been end to end. It's been fast moving, and what we're seeing is some really good contest forward of the ball and some even better crumbing work. So Wingard kicks one up the other end after, as you well called, the work rate that he put in. But Butler here does the same thing. He gets to the fall of the ball, gets some help from his teammates to deliver it right where he needs it, and a terrific finish. So we might be on for a good game here. Who knows?
Cashed in against bottom 10 teams this year. Kicked 20 of his 24 goals against them. Both rucks miss it in the middle. Meek following up, trying to stand up in a tackle. Not sure how he got rid of it. Comes back to him in the end. Somehow gets a kick away towards half forward. Wood gets back for the Saints. Gives it off to Windhager, who kicks a high ball to the wing. Massive fly! Going up, Sharman unable to bring it down. Now at half forward here for St Kilda. Coming through Billings, keeps it moving forward. Handball away to Crouch. Goes with the check side on the run. Classy finish. Brilliant from Brad Crouch, and it is a shootout underneath the roof, as called by Joel Peterson. 3 straight 18 apiece. 12 minutes into this opening term.
Entertaining football. I thought Meek initially did a fantastic job for Hawthorn, just bludgeoning it forward. But any loose ball at the moment is just getting pounced on and punished by either side. And on this occasion, it was the Saints that made the most of things. And Sicily got caught beneath the ball. A couple of clever front and centres for St Kilda with space in front of them. It's been a great first 20 minutes of football.
Good value for money for all involved. Brad Sewell and Karen Peterson, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Back of the middle we go. Frost now in ruck for the Hawks. Trio of Saints dive on. Cordy, Clark and Jones upon Warple. Do it all again in the centre. Frost with the tap. Crouch has been busy early. Keeps it moving forward for the Saints. Toe poked up inside 50 by Butler. Higgins up to meet it. Hands it off to Jones. Just had it go through his hands, and then Warple ran into Wood. Got the handball away inside the defensive 50. Hardwick to Sicily. Clever kick around the corner to Ward. Ward goes low and direct to centre half back and finds Day. This man's such a beautiful user of the footy in game 50 this afternoon.
He's sidestepping here, as he so often can. Feeds a handball to Warple, who will kick towards Wingard. And he marks between the wing and half forward for Hawthorn. Now runs around Wangani Malira. Handball a little dodgy. It sets a task there for McDonald, who's wrenched off it. Now the Saints arrive. Wangani Malira going in again. Crashing in his ward. He might have been taken low down and might have hurt himself. Ball comes out to Mitchell. Hawks back on it. Here is Day. On his left, long kick inside 50, looking for Lewis. He can't mark. Wilkie brings it to ground. Stocker arrives. Lewis goes back in, full forward for the Hawks. Now flicking it out, Battle, away to Windhager. He's brought down in a tackle. Umpire circles. Wants to ball it up. Ian Cohen downstairs.
If you have a look, you can see Zach Jones hobbling off. Looks like it might be a left ankle injury at the moment, but hobbling to the bench right now.
These colours are not good news for Jones. Newcomb at the stoppage, gave it to Ward around the body to full forward. Bruce does the roving. Terrific tackle from Webster. Rolled him over the boundary line and make sure that there wasn't an opportunity for Luke Brewston on goal. Terrific execution from Webster on the last line. Results in a boundary throw in next to the right hand behind post. 3 straight apiece. It's been fast and fun early. Wood just hacks it out of the defensive area for the Saints. A bouncing ball taken by Seamus Mitchell. Handball to Warple. Now to Ward on the edge of the 50. To Newcomb, tied up against the boundary line. 45 from home. Squaring kick for Lewis. He had his name written all over it. And he got those big arms outstretched and dragged it in. 30 from home, as good as directly in front.
Gee, that was a great grab by Lewis. Just stood up under the pressure, but the kick from Newcomb out on the wing, in the forward pocket, he could have gone to the face of goal, but likely would have been punched through. Instead, he made a really clever decision, put it 30 out to the target of his big key forward.
Kicked 4 last week. He's averaging 4 goals a game in Hawthorn victories this season. And he drags that one to the left. Our first blemish of the ball game comes halfway through the opening term. Hawks by a point. Let's go downstairs again to Ian Cohen.
Zach Jones has now gone down the race with the medicos, so he's going to be assessed down the race. And the Hawthorn faithful giving the young 46, Brandon, a big round of applause as he made his way to the bench.
Do we know if it's an acute sort of contact injury for Zach Jones or just limping off, because he did have Achilles and quad issues throughout the pre-season?
It was in the tackle process, Ben.
Thanks, Koza. As Filippo goes long up the line, and Sicily at the back gets it off hands for Hawthorn, retreats to Frost. Impey now inside their defensive 50. Goes back to Sicily. Sicily on the left. His kick trying to find Warple, forward of the wing, gathered by Crouch. St Kilda back with the football. Away to Burns, who will go low left foot kick and find Windhager. 50 out.
Kicks long to full forward. Couple of Saints numbers there through the hands of Sharman. Roved by Wood. Steps around once. Handball to Butler. Can he curl it home? Yes! Couple for Dan Butler in the early stages. And the Saints hit the front for the first time in the ball game. They've kicked 3 in a row to move to 4 straight 24. The Hawks 3-1-19. 17 minutes played in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Great pressure by the Saints forwards. They got to the drop of the ball, outnumbered in their forward half. Hawthorn being a little bit cute out of their defensive 50, trying to find the perfect option, going short to 50-50s there, Sicily. But great forward pressure by St Kilda, keeping themselves in the contest.
3 goals in a row for St Kilda after they were jumped early by Hawthorn. Dan Butler, I mentioned, has been able to fill his boots against bottom 10 teams this season. Back in the middle, Meek and Marshall, and crooked bounce from umpire Chris Donlan. All of those games of experience and still an errant bounce. Marshall slapping it straight down towards Steele, who gives it off to Crouch. Forward handball to Clark. Feeds the handball on the burst here to Burns, who kicks inside 50. And that's exquisite from St Kilda. Beautifully worked out of the stoppage. And Sharman on the lead. Takes the mark on his chest, 35 out, slightest of angles.
As good as you could draw it up from the centre bounce. What I'm really liking about St Kilda is they go forward mentality. They're not using the back feed, or they're not trying to go wide. They're just trying to go route A1 to goal, and it's working for them really nicely at the moment.
Cooper Sharman, another one of those mid-season draft pickups from a couple of years ago. Comes in and Sharman slots it. St Kilda are rolling underneath the roof. They've kicked the last 4 goals of the game. They're 5 straight 30. Hawthorn 3-1-19. They lead by 11 points, 18 and a half minutes into this opening term.
Momentum swings are happening quickly, and Saints at the moment it's a dominant period here. And you're right, they've been incredibly clean going forward, not wasting any possessions. And when they're out, they've got grass in front. They're finding a teammate. Sicily just caught no man's land, thinking the ball might have gone long. And that's where you can hurt Sicily. He's so good on the drop-off, but if you can find that space in front and keep your forwards out of that space, you'll be given opportunities.
When the ball is moving that fast,
yeah,
Sicily, you don't have an opportunity for a defender, one of your teammates, to drop back into the hole, allowing Sicily to drop off. So while they're playing one-on-one football the way they are at the moment, and St Kilda moving the ball as quickly as they are, Sicily's going to have to defend one-on-one.
AFLW All-Australian Kieran Peterson alongside Hawthorn best and fairest Brad Sewell with you in expert commentary this afternoon. From the restart again, the Saints with a takeaway. Steele, handball to Marshall, to Burns, out wide to Langadine Malira, who's enjoying a brilliant second season. Brad Crouch has got another touch of it. He's got 7 disposals thus far. Comes back inboard as the Saints go a little bit more slowly. No one in their forward half at the moment. Now Clark to Wanganeen Malera, inside forward 50. Kick to the top of the goal square. It'll get out the back. Was it touched? It's through. No one got a hand on it. And Nazaya Wanganeen Malera kicks St Kilda's 5th on the bounce. 6 straight 36 to Hawthorn 3-1-19. We are 20 minutes into this opening term, and since Hawthorn kicked their 3rd, it's been all the Saints.
Saints have been dominant around the clearances, 10-3 at the moment, because they know they've got such ascendancy. They're getting forward of the ball. Their spread has been fantastic. Mark's 18-9 as well in St Kilda's way. So getting first hands of the ball, Saints, and being fantastic on the spread.
It's a good lesson there for young Josh Weddle as the Hawthorn defender who didn't need to fly in the pack. He's just allowed the ball to go over the back when he could have held out.
Finally, St Kilda looking like a team who belong in 6th place on the AFL ladder. Been a few weeks coming. Free kick out of the middle too. It'll go to Steele. We'll give it off to Stocker. Back in the side this week. Drives a long ball inside 50 looking for a marker. The pack falls down. It spills out the back. Caminiti, the fortunate party. He hammers it through. And St Kilda, like I said, finally looking like a top 8 team. 7 straight 42. Hawthorn 3-1-19. 21 and a half minutes into the opening term. They've kicked the last 6.
11-5 inside 50 St Kilda's way. Hawthorn caught in their heels. There's been 2 cheap goals, not cheap goals, but 2 goals out of the back defensively. Hawthorn have been caught napping. St Kilda have been fantastic.
Highest scoring opening term for the Saints this year, so the previous best 5-4-34 against Essendon earlier on in the year, so they've blown past that.
How's it going compared to their highest scoring quarter of the year, Benny?
It is their highest scoring quarter of the year, so surpasses 6-5-41 against West Coast, which was a 3rd term in that fixture, and everyone runs up a score against West Coast at the moment.
Consider this.
We are going back to WA, so need to be careful, but
St Kilda kicked 4 goals to 3/4 time against North Melbourne last week. They've got 7 in 20 minutes here. They get the clearance, but it's intercepted by Seamus Mitchell. Young man out of Robinvale. Chips short to Sicily. Just the 3 disposals for James Sicily so far. For anyone else, that's probably decent production through 20 minutes, but Sicily's lofty standards, you expect him to have the football in his hands so often. Short kick to Impey, and Hawthorn have just got nowhere to go at the moment. Everyone is outside their forward 50, all in a line on that outer side of the ground. It's a strange setup forward of the ball for the Hawks at the moment. Lewis came charging up to meet that, brought it to ground. Moore dropped it in the tackle, spilled back to Impey, hooks it around the body up to half forward. And Wilkie was standing under that uncontested, takes the mark and shifts it defensively to Battle.
So Battle with it, backpedaling off the mark. He'll chip it short up the middle. Good kick for Hunter Clark. He'll go laterally and right half back where Webster marks. 10th year at St Kilda now. Tasmanian native. St Kilda by 23 points. It's gone on a tear. Their highest scoring term of the season, as we just mentioned. Webster short to Battle, and Battle will kick around the city wing at Docklands. Coming up, Sicily goes through his hands out the back. Phillippo leaves it behind, picking it up Hardwick. Kick ricochets off bodies back into the muck. Trying to pick it up, Phillippo. It comes out in the end. Billings will give it off to Owens, and a high kick towards half forward. Going up, Day can't take the mark.
Falls to the ground. His number's there for St Kilda, but Sicily smothers the kick. Hands it off to Warple, back to Sicily. Standing start on the edge of the 50. Kicks down the line, looking for Lewis. Out of bounds on the full. Let's go downstairs to Ian Cohen.
I would say Zach Jones' day is done. Jade Gresham's just taken the T-shirt off, had the GPS put in the back of the jumper. He'll be on shortly.
Long kick inside forward 50 from Wanganeen Malera. Big fly, can't be marked, but Butler got a boot to it. Sockers at the full forward for the Saints. Frost handballed it straight to Marshall, who sees the open goal and rams it through. 7 in a row for the Saints. This has been a heavenly start for St Kilda fans. 8 straight. to the Hawks, stuck on 3-1-19. 25 minutes gone in the opening term.
Saints are dominant at the moment. They're winning all the 50-50s, ground balls and in the air. And invariably those air balls are getting out the back. Frost just trying to bite off a little bit too much. Lack of awareness, dangerous place for that to occur in front of the Uppo goal. And Marshall, hand to foot, left side, looked really natural.
They're not far off. Yeah. They're not far off going past their highest scoring first half. Here's St Kilda. That was 8-6-54 against the Gold Coast Suns. As Marshall back in the ruck, the umpire goes to deck. Coming through Meek, knocks it on, soccering it on Steele, straight to Impey though. At centre half back for the Hawks. His kick just goes off the side of the boot, and the mark taken by Billings. He'll wheel on his left, sends St Kilda long back inside 50, looking for Higgins. Impey getting back, punches it out of play, throwing right forward pocket for the Saints. Ian Cohen.
Yeah, Jade Gresham, the substitute, is now on straight into the middle for St Kilda, and Zach Jones has emerged from the rooms. Crutch on the right arm. It's obviously an issue with that ankle. We know he's had ankle issues previously and hamstring issues as well.
Thanks, Koza. Another opportunity for the Saints here. Stoppage. Cordy, the ruck work. Down to Butler. Around to Higgins. Hit the base of the post. So the first blemish for the Saints fans who were ready to make the roof erupt off Docklands once more. Margin is a straight 5 kicks as Jack Higgins is left frustrated, having missed his first opportunity to join in on the party.
Quilday with the kick in. Ambles to the pocket and drives it as long as he can to a massive contest. Filippo in front. Drags in the mark.
Hawks are a bit stunned here.
This young star for St Kilda kicks into the middle of the ground. Gresham the sub into the game. 1-2 with Stocker. Handball back to Battle inside the bullseye. He'll set it up inside 50 for the Saints. Coming up Day. Takes the defensive mark. Tells them to settle down. 40 out from his defensive goal.
They're lost in transition. Saints getting time to set up really defensively ahead of the ball. Hawthorn have got no flow.
Will Day's called to go. Kicks out toward Ryan on the outer side wing. Got a hand to it. Scooting in though for the Saints. And handballing away to Wangadeen Malira was Liam Stocker. Lovely kick into the centre of the ground to Marshall. And now to Crouch, who looked in field and then went defensively back to Wilkie. Playing game number 104 consecutively since debut. Still yet to miss. And it is all St Kilda at the moment. Clark just gallops across half back. Now to Wood. Pokes the pass to Filippo. Filippo infield to Gresham. The sub is into the action. Drives the kick to full forward. 2 Saints there. Front spot. No mark to Higgins. Might have had a claim at a free kick as well. Butler accepted the hand pass from Caminiti. Immediately tackled. Ball up 35 out from the St Kilda goal.
Hawthorn defenders are just looking like witches' hats at the moment, particularly through the middle of the ground. St Kilda's owning the outside. They're getting to every contest with numbers and then piercing them on the way back through.
Knocking it down, Cordy. Hawks coming through it. Spills out in the end to Steele. Kick smothered. Now pinballing around. 15 out from the Saints goal. Handball away straight to the boundary line from Warpool. Umpire says flick it in. Forward 50 stoppage here for the Saints. They lead by 30 points late in this opening term. Cordy and Meek. Cordy to the front. Brings it down in front. Bursting through Crouch. It sits for him. He'll snap on goal. Can he bend it back? You bet he can. A couple for Crouch. And St Kilda are out by 6 goals before quarter time. 29 minutes played. 9-1-55. Plays 3-1-19. Their highest scoring first half before quarter time.
Well, that was a terrific goal, but it just shouldn't happen. I think it was Frost was sitting in the middle of the ground and he just stood there waiting for Crouch to run to him. Rather than pressing and applying some defensive pressure, he stood like a stunned deer in the headlight and just allowed Crouch to snap around his body. And in modern AFL football, that just shouldn't happen, where a St Kilda forward finds space in a forward 50 throw-in. It just shouldn't happen.
Best opening quarter for the Saints since 2003.
And we all picked Hawthorn.
Round 20, 2003, they kicked 9 goals, 3 against Carlton. 9 goals won. It's the best quarter, or high-scoring quarter they've been involved in any game this season. So from them or their opposition, and not even close. Here's Ward for the Hawks. Can they get something going back the other way? Ryan had 2 or 3 to beat. Got a hand to it, but it's all Saints at ground level. Battle a handball to Windhager. Now to Wangadeen Miller. He goes short to Wood. Dangerous kick, but Gresham going back with the flight takes a nice mark and opens things up immediately. Kick into the middle of the ground. Almost applied it for Filippo. Butler came away with it. Handball to Crouch. Now to Billings on the outer side wing. Bramble does well to get in there and mess that up. He knocked it away from Butler. Found the safety of the boundary line. Just defensive side of the wing on the outer side of the ground. We will have it thrown back into play. Saints with the last 8 goals of the game. They trailed by 12 points early on a couple of occasions. They now lead by 36, and it's not even quarter time.
Ross Lyon likes to say they've got to take it from the glass to the grass, and I think it's happening today. From the throw in, Marshall knocks it down in front, going after it. Warple tackled immediately by 3 Saints. And it must feel a little bit like that for Hawthorn at the moment. No room to breathe. Easy to forget. Hawthorn kicked the opening 2 goals of this game. We thought they looked on at that point. Warple with the clearance kick straight towards the boundary line, and the umpire decides to throw it in. 9-1-55 plays 3-1-19. Not even quarter time here on Sunday afternoon football beneath the roof of Docklands.
So 9-1-55 for the Saints against Gold Coast 2 weeks ago. They kicked 8 goals, 3-51 for the whole game. Last week against North Melbourne, 9 goals. Again, for the whole game. This has been a burst of immense proportions from the Saints in the opening quarter. It's been alluded to after Hawthorn kicked 3 of the first 4. And looked like they had a massive foothold in the game. Warple at the stoppage, weaves his way through. Handball to Newcomb, back to Warple. Kicks inside the 50, and Stocker sits in front of the pack, and he read it better off the boot. They are lost at the moment, the Hawks. Stocker, who's been a handy inclusion to this St Kilda side, sends it out wide to Filippo. Short to Windhager. Back to Filippo. And now to the gloved Jack Billings on the outer side of the ground for the Saints.
Billings with the glove on. Back from that fractured thumb, he goes back to Stocker, back to Wilkie. Saints at fullback. Kicks out towards the wing. Bouncing ball for Battle. Impey comes across. Impacts the contest. Does well. Handball to Brockman. He can only slap it on. Wanganeen Malira there for the Saints. Handball to Owens on the logo. Sidestepping, chipping. Good kick. A fine steal. He cops a little ear massage from Will Day for his troubles. Steele just backing back. Backward of the logo. Saints captain, so big in the final term last week. Drives it inside 50. No mark taken by Mitchell. Hardwick there. Shovels out a handball. Owens coming through. Handball over the head. Straight to Gresham. He goes with the handball over his head. To Filippo. Snapping on goal and missing across the face. He just felt like it was going to go through. Such has been the term for St Kilda. They're out by 37. Moments away from quarter time.
Bramble to kick in for the Hawks. Just don't want to give another one up in this situation. He's kicked it straight to Wanganeen Malira, who can turn and go, but he's going to have to go quickly. Handful of seconds to the first interval. Now to Stocker. Stocker drives it to full forward. Oh, the rise, almost the mark from Filippo. Couldn't pull it in. Butler had it at ground level. And the siren beats St Kilda's advance. But what an opening term from the Saints. They conceded 3 of the first 4 before kicking 8 in a row. Not only their highest scoring quarter of the year, but as Ben told you, their highest scoring opening half of the year. And we're only 30 minutes into the match. 9-2-56 the Saints to Hawthorn 3-1-19 at the end of only the opening term under the roof. It's been a wild weekend of footy so far, and that theme looks to only continue today. Butler and Crouch each with 2 for the Saints. Caminiti, Sharman, Wanganeen, Miller, Wood and Marshall all have goals. For the Hawks, Luke Bruce, Dylan Moore and Chad Wingard on the scoreboard at quarter time.
To tell us how they did it in a moment, Kieran Peterson, the Carlton AFLW captain, and Brad Sewell, the dual premiership Hawk. This is Grandstand AFL.
ABC Listen.
A lot of us want to know exactly how a major Silicon Valley bank could have failed, how a former comedy star is holding off a nuclear superpower, and how did a country a lot like Australia end up with 100% inflation. I'm Matt Bevan. Join me for a new season of my podcast, If You're Listening, helping you make sense of major news events shaping our world with new episodes weekly. If you're listening, hear it now on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Just in front of halfway, left foot kicks an absolute perler inside the 50. Brockman was all alone, has an option over the top in the pocket and takes it up, got it to Bruce, Marks plays on, you know the rest. Saints with the clearance out of the middle, Crouch to steal, long kick inside the forward 50, through the hands of Hardwick, attacking it was Caminiti, hands off to Butler, around the body for the instant response.
Now at half forward here for St Kilda. Coming through Billings, keeps it moving forward. Handball away to Crouch, goes with the check side on the run. Classy finish. Brilliant from Brad Crouch, and it is a shootout.
Butler got a boot to it. Sockers at the full forward for the Saints. Frost handballed it straight to Marshall, who sees the open goal and rams it through. 7 in a row for the Saints.
Cordy to the front, brings it down in front, bursting through Crouch, it sits for him. He'll snap on goal, can he bend it back? You bet he can. A couple for Crouch. And St Kilda are out by 6 goals before quarter time. Their highest scoring first half before quarter time.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Great to have you with us on Grandstand AFL Round 20 from Docklands. You can send us a text 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. We're going in for WA. I know a lot of you probably heading to the game between the West Coast Eagles and North Melbourne later on today, and possibly driving in from the country. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know where and how you're listening. But
Whether
before
you're
that,
looking forward to the Harley Reid Cup or not.
Yes. Seed for Reid, I think is what we're calling it, that being seed with a C. Brad Sewell, Karen Peterson, what just happened?
Well, as a Saints supporter, you have been waiting all year to see something like that. Just fantastic. Complete dominance after the first 5 minutes. I think Hawthorn kicked the first 3 goals. It was all one-way traffic. Complete and utter dominance by St Kilda. And purely looking at the stats sheet alone, 15-6 clearances to St Kilda. 134-85 possessions. Marks 40-13. They dominated inside and outside. And most pleasingly is they made the most of opportunities. Scoreboard pressure, they took every chance they got. And conversely, Hawthorn turned up for the first 3 minutes and then were unsighted. Mitchell beeline out to his midfielders, gave them a pretty good spray. And then over to the forwards, they were next. And then there was a quiet ear to James Sicily. So he's laying the law down to the group at the moment.
I was just watching the replay. I reckon there'd be a few Hawthorn players ducking their heads as Mitchell's making their way out to the middle, because, geez, didn't he give him an absolute bake? But to be fair, well deserved. I think the biggest stat is the centre bounce clearances. It's 9-2, and Joel, I think you said there were 5 goals St Kilda had scored from their centre bounce clearances. So, there's not too much that the defenders can do when it's being absolutely peppered inside their D50 from a Hawthorn perspective. But as you mentioned, it was St Kilda. I think the impressive thing is that they weren't on to begin the game. They took 4 or 5 minutes to really warm up, and in that time, Hawthorn were able to kick 2 goals and really looked on top of the contest. And then all of a sudden, I actually couldn't tell you what happened, Sully. It just seemed to happen in the blink of an eye, where St Kilda really flicked the switch and they were able to completely dominate the passage of play. I think, from a Sicily perspective, and this is where he needs the leadership through the middle of the ground as well, is that you can't wait to quarter time when all of a sudden that you're 7 goals down to make some changes. You need to be able to make some decisions and make some changes out in the middle of the ground to try and stop the bleeding that St Kilda was inflicting on them. So it doesn't help too much. There's not too much that you can do when you're winning that many centre bounce clearances and just saying to your defenders here, just have a crack and see what happens. You need to be able to slow the ball down, so that if one of the changes that you want to make is to throw a spare behind the ball to give yourself some extra bodies behind the ball and hopefully stop St Kilda scoring that way, you can't do that from a centre bounce clearance. So you need your midfielders to get on top to create some secondary stoppages, and in that first quarter they just weren't able to do that.
Graham in Perth says, keep it going, Saints. Marilyn from Mullaloo says, love it, go Saints. They had their Wheaties today. Mum's listening in bed. We would have loved it on the TV this week. So obviously not live on free-to-air over in Perth. St Kilda leading by 37 points as the second quarter gets underway. Day onto it off the hands of the Rucks. Inside attacking 50 for Hawthorn. Getting back, taking the mark battle. He's paid it anyway. Shelled it late. The umpire says he had enough of it. So he'll have it inside his D50 for St Kilda. Driving ball out towards the wing. Looking for a marker out there. Owens going up. At the back, Filippo. The two young stars, Filippo. Handball over his head. Hunter Clark turnover. His quick kick marked by Hardwick for the Hawks.
Infield today. Immediately looks to move it on. Long right foot kick to half forward. Saints have got the numbers around the footy through the hands of Ryan. Taken nicely by Battle, who sends it back the other way for St Kilda. Sharman over the top of Day, but the Hawk in front spot rightly paid the mark. Defensively to Sicily. Out of the back edge of the centre square for Weddle.
3 early touches for Day, trying to make an impact and stem the tide early in this second quarter.
Not Weddle's best effort. Out wide to Frost. He's capable of anything with ball in hand. Some good, some bad, some indeterminate. Kick wide to Newcomb. Now back to Hardwick. Now back to Weddle. The Saints doing all their work at half back.
Weddle shovels a handball away to Sicily. A little bereft initially. Handball away to Bramble. Little 1-2 with Mitchell. Running through the logo now. Bramble's low left foot kick. Bounces inside 50. Wilkie there for the Saints. Handball errant. Allows in Hawthorn through Mackenzie. Spins into a tackle. And a ball up. Left half forward here for Hawthorn. Damo Harris listening in. Driving with his mate Colin, who's an Eagles fan. Damo the Roos wearing his Northampton Rams shirt. Home of Paddy Cripps, the reigning Brownlow medalist.
And plenty of others as well,
Yep.
as Nash kicks inside the forward 50 and Lewis is on the end of it for the Hawks. Left forward pocket, he's 10 in from the boundary and 30 from home.
I was just thinking that turning point in the first quarter is when Lewis missed that set shot, when he arguably should have kicked it. Saints ran away with it from there.
So can Mitch Lewis provide a turning point of a good type for Hawthorn? No, he leaves his set shot narrow as he goes around the body with that. First score of the second term of minor for the Hawks. Cuts the gap back to 6 straight kicks.
Just on Northampton, so Josh Kennedy, Harry Taylor, Paul Hazelby, the Lockiers, as Sinclair takes the kick in, goes straight up the middle for St Kilda. Unable to mark battle, follows up at ground level. Handball to Wanganeen Malira, to Clark, to Crouch. Back feeds it back inside the defensive 50 and clearing kick from Windhager out wide, a good kick. Mark taken out there by Burns. Stabs it on the 45 short onto the chest of Wanganeen Malira. Back to Burns, wants to bite off the kick into the middle, poor kick, off hands, Wingard comes up with it, run down by Sinclair. Caught cold, and the only All-Australian from last year out there gets the free kick for the Saints.
They move it on quickly. Webster's handball to Clark, now to Crouch, 65 from home, kicks to the pocket, lovely delivery for Higgins. Jack Higgins marks, 35 metres out, tight-ish angle to the left. He's probably 10 paces in from the boundary line.
There's the difference in the ball movement. So St Kilda are able to find a way through the middle of the ground. Hawthorn aren't able to.
Higgins goes around the body, leaves it well short. At the front of it all is Cordy. Read the drop, stood in front of the pack, marked in the goal square.
Mitchell, if he wasn't seething at quarter time, he will be blowing absolute steam right now.
An absolute gift for Zane Cordy. 9 in a row for St Kilda. And the Saints march on to start the second term. 10-2-62. Hawks 3-2-20. Margin out to a new game high, 42 points.
As exciting and positive as this is for St Kilda, it must be so frustrating sometimes as a St Kilda coach, supporter, player. The gap between their best and their worst is so great. Because when they're taking on the game and taking grass in front of them, in the way that we've seen in the last quarter and a half, there aren't too many sides that could stop them. They're incredibly exciting. But that said, they are playing against an insipid Hawthorn right now.
What's he like when he's angry, Sam Mitchell?
I reckon we're about to see it half time.
Bounce in the middle, Meek goes early, Marshall stays down, slaps it out in front of Clark. He's tackled quickly by Newcomb. Dragged to deck and another ball up in the middle. Would have learnt from a few sprays from Clarko back in the day, I'm sure. Meek following up, gets it on the bounce, able to get a handball away. Wood coming through, gets a handball straight back to Nash. Now bursting through, Finn McGuinness for the Hawks. Gives a handball back to Impey. Kicks to half forward. Mark taken by Wingard. 60 metres from home, wide out at right half forward. Chisels the ball into the pocket. Ryan on the burst. He marks full chested. Deep in the right forward pocket. The gangly mid-season pickup described as uncanny. And he'll go back and try and kick his first goal in AFL footy.
Presents well, puts himself in good space, doesn't he?
Going with the left foot snap. It's nice. Brandon Ryan kicks his first goal in AFL footy. And what a time to do it. Didn't the Hawks need that? They come from everywhere to celebrate with the debutant. And it's back to 36 points, 10-2-62 the Saints. Hawthorn 4-2-26, 6 minutes played, second term, grandstand AFL.
Yeah, that was a great set of hands, hasn't he? He's presented a couple of times, Sully, as you mentioned, in the right spot, and with some pressure coming on his back here, got a great set of hands and a terrific finish. But that was much better ball movement from Hawthorn. They spread and got to the outside. Wingard was the one who made the effort to get out into space, and instead of waiting for the St Kilda defenders to fill up the D50 and making it really challenging to find a target, he wheeled and went from a 60 or 70 metre out position and put it to the space and let his big key forward on debut go to work.
So Brandon Ryan with 26 goals in the VFL this season, and he's first at the top level. First for Hawthorn after 9 in a row for St Kilda. From the restart, slack forward for the Hawks up to centre half forward through the hands of Wanganeen Malira. Sinclair had a play at it. His handball went awry, taken by Warple for the Hawks. High kick inside the 50. Lewis nudged under it. Wingard pouncing on it. Tried to slap it to Bruce. It was almost perfect. Sinclair desperately going back, trying to paddle the ball to his own advantage. And it's rushed through for a minor score. Narrows the gap to 35 through 7 minutes in the second.
Sinclair with the kick in short. I'm reliably informed Northampton yesterday won by 225 points. Harry Taylor kicked 15 goals. Playing in the forward line against Mullawa. As Gresham for the Saints back here goes laterally to battle.
It's a good name too, the Northampton Rams.
Yeah. Short to Wanganeen Malira. To Sinclair and then short again to Gresham, who's been busy since coming on as the sub. Gresham wants to move it out towards Marshall on the wing. Up he goes, right behind him Meek, a good spoil. And out of play inside the interchange gates. Just into a little bit of a lull this game after the first term excitement. St Kilda leading by 35 points. If you've joined us late, Zach Jones subbed out of the game with a leg injury.
Cutting a pretty forlorn figure on the bench at quarter time as well. All the Saints were out in the huddle and Jones was just sitting up the back of the bench, looking fairly distraught. Meek in ruck for Hawthorn. Controls it down over his head. Ward kicks inside the forward 50. Lewis fights for it. Ryan lays a good tackle on Wilkie. Nice physical stuff from the first gamer, who not only with the goal, but Sully set a couple of marks in his presentation. He's made a pretty promising start to his career at the top level. Meek slaps it down again. Wingard has a go as it bobbles around aerially. Wanganeen Miller up and down the mine shaft to half-back Impey. Gets a little bit of a ride on the back of Billings. Takes a mark just outside the 50 for the Hawks.
Jumping Jarman. I'm going to take the mark. Now sets it up towards full forward. Coming at it again, Ryan. Doesn't quite mark it this time. Comes out to Warple. Loses possession of the ball and St Kilda come in for Gresham. Kick a turnover. Mark taken by Sicily. Chisels the ball into the pocket. Trying to find more. Saints arrive. Bring it down to ground level. Wingard off to Ward. Chips a kick. Good kick to Moore. Maybe not the 15. Gives it off to Wingard. His kick is shocker. Out of bounds on the full. And St Kilda to get it back in the right back pocket. They lead by 35 points, the Saints.
Sinclair brings it back in to Stocker. Back to Sinclair. Now Wilkie and Wood. Kick wide. And Owens has got it. Seen a lot of the footy early doors, Mitch Owens. He's had a great second season. Right in the rising star conversation. Playing an important role in a depleted St Kilda forward line. Wilkie back to Wanganeen Miller, still at half back here, the Saints, leading by 35 points, takes a bounce, creates some dash and some forward movement. Kick up toward Caminiti, got over the back of him, almost to Sinclair. Toe poked forward by Brandwell, but he could only get it as far as Brad Crouch, who stands on the Logo City side.
Crouch feigns to pull the trigger, eventually does, inside on the 45 to Gresham. On the edge of the centre square, he'll go backwards to Wilkie. What a story he is. Wilkie stabs it short to Stocker. Left out last week, back in the team this week, trying to wait a kick to Windhager. A little casual on the mark. Juggles it and just takes it. Very wide out, just in front of the interchange gates. Comes infield, short to Steele, the captain. Saints on a slow build-up. Handball to Windhager. Back to Stocker. Stocker will go short up the middle. Sinclair marks. Now they look inside 50. Long ball towards full forward. Sharman jumping. Doesn't quite bring it down. And it's inadvertently knocked through for a behind. Jeez, he's got some hops. Cooper Sharman, doesn't he?
Like his courage in the air too, just drifting back with the flight there.
Gets upstairs. St Kilda by 36 again.
As Benny mentioned earlier, another one of the mid-season draftees. And a look for West Torrens. He's from Country, New South Wales, out in Leeton. Mackenzie's got her at half-back to Ward, so they're 2 first-round picks of the last 2 seasons, Hawthorn combining at half-back. Ward bites a kick up, off the middle, into the ground, and Warple couldn't take the mark, floated over his head. Crouch takes it for St Kilda to Gresham inside the forward 50, and Seamus Mitchell will go back with the flight, have a little bit of a bobble, but secure the ball inside the defensive 50.
Goes back to Hardwick. Hardwick laterally to Wimpy. Keep your text coming, 0437 774 774. Particularly if you're out in the regions, driving in for West Coast and North Melbourne later this afternoon. If you're listening globally, which we get a lot of as well. Hawthorn switch it. Mitchell in the left back pocket, kicks up to the wing. Windhager can't quite take the mark cleanly. Walks back onto it. Here they go through Mackenzie, releasing Day with the handball, running through the Logo on the wing. Handball infield to Moore, breaks the attacking 50, eyes the goals, kicks on goal, and the mark dropped on the line by Bruce. In between the goal post and the behind post. And through for a minor score, under pressure from Wanganeen Malira. 35 points, St Kilda's advantage.
Wingard let him know about it too. He was streaming up the middle looking for it, but it's not good when your forwards drop their head.
Saints waste no time, bring it into Webster, to Wilkie, and now to Sharman, who bangs it inside the 50 to Caminiti! Takes the mark, end to end in a flash for the Saints. Caminiti's got it 25 out, slight angle to the left.
So dangerous, Saints, when they just almost blindly just go straight towards goal. And because they know they're winning the ball around the contest, they can run forward with some confidence.
Ross Lyon almost left him out over the last couple of weeks. He said Caminiti knew about it. Well, he might just be earning that spot in the side with his second goal. And really providing a presence up front for St Kilda. Lead back out to 41 for the Saints, 11-3-69 to the Hawks, 4-4-28. 14 minutes played second quarter on Grandstand AFL. You're with Brad Sewell and Karen Peterson.
And again, Sewell, you can see really positive ball movement from St Kilda. Again, they're opting to go through in the middle of the ground, and they didn't do anything special or anything flash just then. And for what it's worth, I mean, I think Hawthorn's defence through the middle of the ground has been pretty ordinary, and it is just allowing St Kilda to waltz up the middle. And I don't know who kicked it into Caminiti just then, but he sat it to the advantage of his forward, and there's not a lot that the Hawthorn defenders can do when the ball's sitting that high and going back to goal. So on the other side, I'm just not sure what Hawthorn's trying to do with their ball movement. We've seen on a number of occasions they're swinging the ball across the half-back line, but making absolutely no progress going forward.
Frost in the ruck, winning the tap down. Warple slapping it out towards Newcomb. Handball away to Nash. Hawthorn with it. Warple kicking in the Wingard direction, gathering on the bounce. Gets rid of it away towards a flying Mackenzie, who will kick inside 50. And it's a turnover straight to Stocker. St Kilda back with the footy. Molly says, "Go Saints, thanks for keeping me company on the drive from Launceston to Hobart."
Big Saints contingent down in Tassie. Of course, a great, proud history between the St Kilda Footy Club, providing some champions from Tassie. Here's Mason Wood to Webster, one of the Tasmanians in Saints colours. Wanganeen Miller kicks inside the forward 50. Frost couldn't take the mark, but had it knocked out of his hands. And he'll get a free kick for the Hawks on the last line. Handball's wide to Sicily. Margin 41, halfway through this second term. Lovely delivery from James Sicily. You wouldn't expect anything less. Finds Moore, kicks down the city wing. Wood coming in from the side. Steps in front of Lewis. Takes the mark just inside the field of play, right on centre wing.
Wood wants to come infield to Cordy. Cordy takes the mark, a premiership centre half forward for the Western Bulldogs back in 2016.
Answer to a good trivia question too, Benny. They kicked the first goal in that grand final.
Goes short. Infield to Wanganeen Malera. His kick dodgy, trying to get it to Steele. Gathers neatly on the bounce. Handball to Clark under pressure. Handball too hot for Sinclair. Has to go and track the footy. Handball to Stocker. Wingard closes. Wingard catches him. Holding the ball, and Hawthorn with it on the wing.
Wingard's kick is nicely measured to McGuinness. Handball's off to Moore, scooting inside the forward 50. Now to Frost. Handball wide for Lewis. Set him a task in the right forward pocket. Pokes it around the corner. Numbers everywhere. And Bruce takes the chest mark in the right forward pocket. And he won't waste any time. Luke Bruce has already got one goal. And Julie converts with his second. So the Hawks with 2 for the quarter to match the Saints on that tally. They've pulled the margin back from 37 at quarter time. It now sits at 35. Hawks 5-4, Saints 11-3 before Brad Saul and Karen Peterson. Let's go downstairs to Ian Cohen.
Yeah, it looks like Sam Mitchell has pulled a tactical sub with Seamus Mitchell coming off, and he's now sitting in the back row, and Blank is already on, so that transition was very quick, but no medical attention appears to be applied to the number 40.
Wow. It's a big move midway through the second term. Might be an answer to Airy in Nashville, Tennessee, who's listening. Thanks for the call, big Hawks member. What do the Hawks need to do to claw back into this match, especially after 3 great quarters last week? Maybe that's part of the answer. One to mess about. Sam Mitchell, the Saints with the clearance. Comes through the agency of Jack Steele. High ball inside 50. Clears the pack, bounces out the back. Onto it, Frost. Handball away to Ward. Ward with the fit of the fumbles. Right there with him, Gresham. Ward sees it out. And a throw in 45 around from the attacking goal. And for St Kilda, out by still 35 points. As Joel mentioned, 2 goals apiece in this second term on Grandstand AFL.
Of course, they made the change last week with Denver Granger Barras, who didn't touch it in almost 45 minutes of game time. So certainly not going to die wondering with the tactical substitutions. Here's Sam Mitchell. James Blank, an interesting replacement for a smaller player, though. So they've left themselves a little bit hamstrung in terms of who they could bring on and what he could do. Webster takes the clearing kick for the Saints, puts it back inside the forward 50, through the hands of Day. Good pressure from Filippo, but Hawthorn come up with it through Weddle and Bramble, both of whom have plenty of dash. 2 bounces from Bramble as he bursts through the centre, kicks to a 2-on-1, not favouring Hawthorn colours. And an easy intercept mark for Wilkie at the top of the defensive 50.
They'll chip it laterally away towards Battle, who is a little unsure whether he goes down the wing or back inside 50. Elects to go down the wing, looking for Sharman, another big fly. Can't bring it down again. Sooner or later he'll hold on to one. Out of play it goes, and a throw in on the wing.
Some exciting forward prospects, haven't they, the Saints? Seeing glimpses
Is it as simple as
Potential.
that? Is he looking Sam Mitchell and going, well, Caminiti,
Maybe.
Sharman,
He's got to do something.
we just need a little more height down there. Meek decisively with the tap. Hawthorn not coming away with it. Meek able to bend over and pick it up. Gets it out to Warple. Wood worries him out of it. Out of play it goes. A throw in again on the wing.
Defenders can't do too much when Saints have got that ease of ball movement that we're seeing. Comes down to the Hawthorn midfielders applying some pressure around the contest and defensively.
Thoughts of Hawks Premiership player Brad Saul alongside AFLW All-Australian Kieran Peterson with you on Grandstand AFL. John Peterson, Ben Cameron calling it for you, and Cohen is downstairs. Secondary ball up on the City side wing. Saints by 35 points, having kicked 9 goals in the opening term. Steele tumbles one forward for St Kilda. Sicily's up to meet it. Sharman right there with him. And it's pushed over the boundary line again. It'll be thrown back in between the wing and half forward for the Saints. 2 goals, 1 in this term so far for St Kilda. And the Hawks have added 2 goals, 3.
Umpire brings it back in. Meek winning the tap back towards the boundary line. Going after it, Wood very close to it. Right there with him, Day. Macca in Perth says, why do you keep referring to the who gives a you-know-what cup when the other game is crucial for both teams? Main reason is we're broadcasting into WA. 7 out of 10 people in WA support the West Coast Eagles and are probably listening often on their way to that fixture. Clearing kick coming from Marshall out of the ruck contest towards the boundary line from Billings and back out.
7 out of 10, that many?
Yep.
Is that right?
70% of the state support West Coast, so 21 minutes played in the second term, 35 points, St Kilda's advantage, 9 goals to 3 in the opening term for the Saints.
Still plenty of time left in this second quarter. Warple's been good in this term. Hands it off to Moore as the Hawks generate some dash. Good mark from Webster, took front spot on Brockman. And pulled it in at halfback in the red, white and black. Kick short for Windhager. It's about a 13-metre kick, umpire right there. Chris Donlan, who's in the top 10 of games umpired in the AFL and VFL. Turnover. Oh, easy pickings that for McGuinness. To Moore. Good mark. Had Webster coming over the top. Dylan Moore pulls it in. He's 80 from home out at right half forward.
Spinning the Sharon in his hands. Now he looks low inside 50, looking for a leading Lewis. Absolutely bursting onto it. Hands stretched out in front. A good strong mark. Very wide out. Just inside the attacking 50. The mark's at 40 out. 10 metres in from the boundary line.
Terrific focal point, isn't he? He's a guy who can build your side around. Hawthorn are just looking for supporting tall at the moment.
This will be the challenging part, and that is excellent. Fantastic finish from Mitch Lewis. Can it ignite the Hawks? 6-4-40 they move to. St Kilda 11-3-69. Back to 29 points, 23 minutes and change is how deep we are in the second term.
Presents a really interesting challenge for both sides here at the moment. Firstly, the Saints have had an incredible start to the game. Can they maintain their energy and pressure and intensity? That's been a knock on them throughout the season in terms of their consistency in which St Kilda is going to show up. And conversely, Hawthorn, unsighted, but we know they've got the ability to score quickly. A young side with confidence. That'll be the challenge for Mitch and the message at half-time, I'm sure.
On both fronts, you just can't rule it out.
No, you can't.
Still could be anyone's ball game this afternoon. Because when the Hawks get going, they really get going. Newcomb can help them do that. Clearance out of the middle, short hand pass to McDonald, to Day. He's just ambling around the centre of the ground. Kick on the outside of the boot. Might be a free kick to Hawthorn here. Ryan was held as he made his way to the football. He's got the free, 52 metres from home. Kicks to the pocket, wants Lewis. Standing in front is Sinclair. Kick was a little bit shallow to get to the key target. Sinclair intercepts for St Kilda, leading by 29 points. We're 24 gone in this second quarter.
Got a bit of rivalry with the Mullets today, Jack Sinclair. Good mark on the wing from the debutant Ryan, who goes back with his kick. Today on the logo, Hawthorn with it. There comes infield to Nash. Gets it away to McDonald, who will drive it long inside 50. St Kilda have the numbers. Dropping the mark though, Webster. He's able to receive a handball back, give it off to Sinclair, who will kick towards Marshall. There's a whistle on the play. It'll come back and more advantage will be paid, and St Kilda will go away down the city wing.
He'll kick over the top, and it's going to be a free to the Saints. Some holding on in that contest. Zane Cordy to take it. Hawthorn fans not particularly pleased with the decision, as you might be able to surmise. Now out wide to Butler. Dan Butler, of course, brother Sam on Hawthorn's list. Out of Lake Wendouree in the Ballarat Football League. Sinclair now with it for the Saints. To Wilkie. He can shift it to Battle toward the broadcast side. Thinks about it. Looks him off. Wants something to come at him a little bit shorter than that. Eventually Webster presents, and he's on the AFL logo out of sight.
Jimmy Webster pretty content to just hold it up.
Yeah, I was going to say, he has to hold it up because there's no movement forward of the ball. They're all sort of just standing there waiting for the long ball to come in.
Webster will kick long towards half forward. Massive fly going up, but Sicily at the back able to take the mark. Virtually unopposed in the end for Hawthorn. Goes short to Bramble. Running the city wing, kicking long towards half forward. Lewis can't take the mark, coming through Webster. Fighting after it, Hawthorn have the numbers. Moore, handball out to McGuinness. Forward of the wing, will kick inside 50, looking for Ryan. He's out-bodied, and at the back, Stocker marks for St Kilda. Saints by 29 still, 26 minutes into this second term.
Hawks supporters again, direct with their feedback on the decision-making. Butler kicks long down the line. No fly from Sharman on that occasion, who must be in desperate need of a new car because he is determined to take mark of the year this afternoon. Sicily handball to Bramble. Low kick up toward half forward, straight to Sinclair. Handball to Butler. Handball to Gresham on the outer side wing. Now to Steele and now to Marshall. The big fella had to do some fancy footwork. Got the handball away in the end to Filippo. Then Crouch was pushed off it, but they kept it moving. Billings at half forward for St Kilda. Inside to 50 to Higgins, who takes the mark 45 from home. He'll have to kick from just inside the 50.
Great pressure and intent by both sides in that last passage, but Saints just doing enough to get the ball going their way, and Gresham around that sort of 75, 80 out, so dangerous.
Jack Higgins, among all the goals for St Kilda, yet to get on the board so far this afternoon, sends it right to the line. They all just stopped. It was slapped back into play. Everyone stopped and watched it just roll through for a behind. In fact, there was a free kick in the marking contest, even though the goal umpire had signalled a behind. Newcomb will take it from the last line for the Hawks.
And that will be it for the opening half of football. One dominated by St Kilda. They'll lead by 29 points at half-time. 11-3, 69 plays, 6-4-40. They did lead by 37 points at the first change after they kicked what was the final 8 goals of the opening term. The goal kickers for St Kilda, Caminiti, Butler and Crouch with 2 goals. Singles to Wanganeen Malira, Marshall, Cordy, Wood and Sharman. While for Hawthorn, Luke Bruce with a couple, and then singles to Mitch Lewis, Ryan the debutant, Wingard and Moore to half-time. Our experts, Brad Sewell, Karen Peterson.
Fantastic, entertaining first half of football. St Kilda definitely had the dominance and momentum for the most part. We saw Hawthorn claw their way back in through effort and intent around the contest, in particular through the second half of that second quarter. It's in a precarious position at the moment because both sides, Hawthorn can score very quickly, and St Kilda's lack of consistency, as we spoke of in that second quarter, would be something right at the top of Ross Lyon's mind.
Yeah, I was just thinking through. One of the listeners must have texted in, I think, Ben, and said, how do they get back into it? Well, the first thing they need to do was stop the bleeding, and that's what Hawthorn did. They were able to, what did St Kilda piled on 9 goals in the first quarter and only 2 goals in the second quarter. So whether that was, I mean, it would be unrealistic to expect St Kilda to be able to maintain the rage and the level of play that they were doing in the first quarter. But for Hawthorn, they'll take that as a win. They'll take the fact that they outscored them in that quarter, and they'll take that forward. I mean, it wasn't through any particular great decision making or play or skill or anything like that. It was probably because St Kilda just weren't able to maintain the pace and the speed that they were playing at in that first quarter. But there was a little bit to like for Hawthorn. When they were able to get the ball into the middle of the ground, apply some pressure, get some overlap, run, they were able to kick it deep into their forward line. And all they need their forwards to do, and we've seen Mitchell do it, we've seen Lewis do it, and we've seen Brandon Ryan have a couple of cracks where all they need to do is just to win or halve the contest. As long as they're not being outmarked by the St Kilda defenders, they're giving their opportunities to their small forwards, and Wingard's been quite good at getting to the feet. We haven't seen enough of it, but if they can get their more speedy forwards and midfielders pushing in and locking the ball in and playing some forward half football, then they will get their game back on their terms. And we've mentioned a couple of times that St Kilda have that inconsistency between their best and their worst, and I'm hopeful for the St Kilda supporters that we don't see their worst in the second half and they allow Hawthorn back into this game. But I'm certainly barracking for that because I want to see a better game in the second half.
I mean, the challenge for St Kilda now is to continue taking risks, continue playing with confidence and flair, continue taking ground, taking ground, particularly through the corridor. And of course, I think that the message for Mitch to his Hawthorn troops at halftime here will be just to win each quarter. They won the second quarter there, 3 goals 2 to 2-2, I think it was, St Kilda. So they just need to keep grinding away, keep the scoreboard ticking over, and you never know what might happen in that last quarter.
Well, they were able to halve some of the stats that you go looking at. So the clearances, they were St Kilda was +8 in the first quarter. They're only +4 now. So they've been able to claw back some of the key statistics and get their hands on the ball, which is really important. The big stat, I think, early was the uncontested possessions that St Kilda, they were able to win the ball on the outside and transition the ball to the outside and own possession all the way across the width of the ground. And they weren't able to do that as easily in that second term. So if they can continue to apply pressure and close down a lot of those chains that St Kilda were able to basically navigate through the middle of the ground as quickly as what they were doing in that first quarter, then Hawthorn will be certainly well and truly within the game, hopefully come this second half.
So half-time between Hawthorn and St Kilda, and it is St Kilda leading by 29 points, 11-3, 69 plays, 6-4, 40. I just want to read this one out quickly as well because I like it. Apologies if I get the pronunciations wrong here, but hey guys, enjoying listening from Calvalossi on the Greek island of Samos. I think that sounds about right. Keep it going, Saints. That's from Greg. What a place to be. That would be pretty early in the morning there, maybe up for an early morning dip or maybe getting home. I'm not sure which end of the spectrum Greg is on, but appreciate that, Greg. Stick with us through the second half of this contest. Some of the other matches coming up today, starting in around about an hour from now, Richmond and Melbourne. No late changes in that fixture. Smith, the sub for Melbourne, and Coulthard, who last week against Hawthorn was a game changer, coming on as the sub for Richmond. Later today, 4:40pm Australian Eastern Standard Time, West Coast and North Melbourne in the battle of the cellar dwellers from Perth Stadium.
And the VFLW Grand Final was on today, Benny. So the WAFLW Grand Final was a couple of weekends ago. The VFLW Grand Final was today. Port Melbourne won that, defeating Collingwood 5-5 to 3-5. So played at Port Melbourne, and the Borough premiers for the VFL women's competition. And of course, the AFLW season only a little bit more than a month away.
Absolutely. Good result for the Borough. They'll be happy with that, and I'm sure celebrating tonight as they should. Just repeating, St Kilda 11-3, 69, leading Hawthorn 6-4, 40. The Saints by 29 points at half-time. You can text us. Let us know where you're listening. 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. Right now, though, time for us to pause and take the latest from the ABC newsroom.
Hello, I'm Helen Frost. Hopes are fading for 4 Australian Army aviators after a helicopter crash off the North Queensland coast. Rebecca Hyam has more.
A search and rescue mission to find the missing airmen is continuing, with hundreds of Defence and Emergency Services personnel taking part. The Australian Army MRH-90 Taipan helicopter went down in waters off the Whitsunday Islands on Friday during a military exercise. Debris was recovered from the waters off Lindeman Island yesterday. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has offered his support to the loved ones of those involved.
On behalf of our nation, our thoughts and prayers are with the families, friends and colleagues of those who are missing.
The Department of Defence says it's liaising with the families of the missing airmen.
WA's Premier Roger Cook says Labor's win in the Rockingham by-election is a solid result. Labor's Magenta Marshall has become the first woman elected to the seat in Perth South after taking over from former Premier Mark McGowan. But Labor recorded a 33% swing against it on primary votes and a 22.5% swing against it on the two-party preferred vote. Mr Cook says Labor ran a positive campaign in Rockingham.
We didn't take anything for granted in relation to this by-election. We wanted to make sure that we listened to the people of the community, that they understood that we were listening and we were responding to their concerns.
The Social Services Minister has warned an increase to JobSeeker from September the 20th will only take effect if the government's related bill is passed tomorrow. The $56 fortnightly increase has been criticised by the Greens and some social groups for being insufficient, while the government banked a $19 billion surplus. Amanda Rishworth says the budget surplus was only for 1 year, while payment increases would be ongoing.
When you talk about the surplus from last year, it's a very different circumstance to the reforms that we've made, which are ongoing and structural. Now, we have calibrated these to be responsible, to help people that are doing it tough, but also that they're sustainable into the long term.
A man has been shot in what police describe as a targeted attack in Melbourne's north overnight. Leanne Wong reports.
Police say 3 men forced their way into a home on Amarina Court in Meadow Heights at 9:45 last night. They then got into a fight with the residents before a man aged in his 20s was shot. He was taken to hospital with serious injuries and the 3 men fled in a car. Investigators say they believe the attack was targeted and there is no ongoing threat to the community. Police are still searching for the offenders and are appealing for anyone with information about the incident to come forward.
Police say a man who died after he was stabbed in Sydney's inner west had links to organised crime. The 29-year-old man died in hospital after he was stabbed in an altercation with 2 other men at Donnelly Street in Balmain yesterday afternoon. Detective Chief Inspector Graham Watson says officers believe the victim was a low-level associate with organised crime.
We're only 24 hours into this investigation, so that is a line of inquiry that we'll look at, and as to the circumstances of why he was down there and why he's been murdered.
Thousands of Israelis have staged protests for the 30th week in a row over the government's planned judicial overhaul. It caps a week of turmoil in the country after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushed through legislation that limits the Supreme Court's power. The government's plan has seen many army reservists refuse to report for duty, while there have been warnings of economic problems if the demonstrations continue. And a historic heatwave that has gripped the US southwest throughout July is beginning to ease, with the late arrival of monsoon rains. Chelsea Hetherington has more.
Forecasters expect that by Monday, people in the city of Phoenix will begin to see high temperatures fall under 43.3 degrees Celsius for the first time in a month. The previous record stretch was for 18 days in 1974. There are increased chances of cooling monsoon thunderstorms, though forecasters warn wet weather can also bring damaging winds and the chance of flash flooding. Temperatures are also expected to ease in Death Valley in California, where the expected high of 50 degrees is forecast to lower to 45 by Tuesday. Scientists calculate that July will prove to be the hottest globally on record.
In the NRL, the North Queensland Cowboys are looking to keep their strong run of form going when they face the Titans on the Gold Coast. The Cowboys have won their past 6 games and sit just inside the top 8. They will be without Jeremiah Nanai, who has suffered an AC joint injury. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it. Bye-bye. See you later.
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team.
Set, bingo.
AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Higgins goes around the body, leaves it well short. At the front of it all is Cordy. Read the drop, stood in front of the pack, marked in the goal square. An absolute gift for Zane Cordy. 9 in a row for St Kilda.
Mitchell, if he wasn't seizing at quarter time, he will be bowling absolute steam right now.
Wingard chisels the ball into the pocket. Ryan on the burst. He marks full chested. Going with the left foot snap. It's nice. Brandon Ryan kicks his first goal in AFL footy. And what a time to do it. Didn't the Hawks need that?
Yeah, it looks like Sam Mitchell has pulled a tactical sub with Seamus Mitchell coming off, and he's now sitting in the back row, and Blank is already on, so that transition was very quick.
Spinning the Sharon in his hands. Now he looks low inside 50, looking for a leading Lewis. Absolutely bursting onto it. This will be the challenging part, and that is excellent. Can it ignite the Hawks?
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Great to have your company here on Grandstand AFL, round 20 from Docklands. It is St Kilda leading by 29 points at the main break over Hawthorn, 11-3, 69, plays 6-4, 40. A brief around the grounds, and must admit, very excited with the form of Oscar Piastri. Had a sit-down chat with him on Summer Grandstand for the start of the Formula One season, so we're good friends. We're good friends, and he's
friend
driving
of the program.
Friend of the program, and he's driving very well at the moment, isn't he?
He's going beautifully, and that McLaren car has really come to life in the last little while, Benny. Overnight, of course, the F1 Sprint in Belgium at Spa-Francorchamps. Changeable conditions in qualifying and in the race as well, with a lot of rain in that part of the world. And Oscar Piastri qualified second in the sprint race. Max Verstappen was starting on pole, and Piastri peeled into the pits as the safety car let them go on the opening lap, came out and led the race for a few laps. Then a safety car as Fernando Alonso went off the track and into the gravel, meant that he relinquished that lead in the end, but finishing second in that sprint race. So not a Grand Prix podium, so to speak, but the first of his appearances on the podium, and he's the first rookie to lead a lap in any F1 event, so Sprint, Grand Prix, whatever, since Esteban Gutierrez in the mid-2000s. Not a great omen. Esteban Gutierrez didn't do a hell of a lot, but he's really hit his form.
Our man Oscar will.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just got a calm head on his shoulders, which is what I like about him.
Yeah. The supercars as well in action at the moment.
Yeah, it's
this weekend.
Yeah, Sydney Motorsport Park. So Eastern Creek, the first of those races last night was action-packed. That was taken out by Brody Kostecki, who's making his NASCAR debut next week, and the man who won the NASCAR race in Chicago on debut a couple of weeks ago, Shane Van Gisbergen, and he's on pole for the second of those races later today. So Andre Heimgartner was on pole yesterday. Van Gisbergen fought his way back from 20th. A late race penalty saw him miss the podium, but he will start from pole position for race 2 this afternoon. Heimgartner second, Brock Feeney in third, Bryce Forward in fourth, and Brody Kostecki in fifth.
And the Tour de France Femme, I know you love your cycling. I often think at times you sound very similar to Matthew Keenan. What's been happening there?
Yeah, so the seventh stage last night was the stage up the famous Col de Tourmalet, which is the Queen stage in the race. So the biggest climb there went up the Col d'Aspin and then up the Col de Tourmalet. So an altitude of more than 2,000 metres, 2,200 or so. And Demi Vollering blew the race apart. It was pretty dramatic, Ben, in the sense that there was a lot of fog, so a lot of the riders couldn't even see sort of 30, 50 metres behind them. Demi Vollering, the Dutch woman riding for Team SD Works, she finished a minute, almost 2 minutes ahead of any other rider on the stage. So moves into the Maillot Jaune as the overall leader of the race. A minute and 50 ahead of Katarzyna Niewiadoma of Poland. Annemiek van Vleuten, who is the star in women's cycling, is 2.5 minutes back. The best of the Aussies is Amanda Spratt, who is 8 minutes behind, just inside the top 10. But dramatic stages. A time trial to come tonight around Po. We'll sort it out, but you'd think that Demi Vollering will be taking the win in the second big edition of that Tour de France Femme, following on from the men's race earlier in the month, which of course Jai Hindley and Ben O'Connor, a couple of West Aussie products, were in action in.
And in the Bledisloe Cup last night, taking place at the MCG.
85,000 odd there?
Yeah, just over 85,000, 83,944. The Wallabies going down 38-7 to the All Blacks. So they did lead 7-5 at one point, which was as good as it got, but the Bledisloe Cup will be remaining where it has for 21 long years. It'll be staying across the ditch in the land of the long white cloud. Also the cricket tonight, of course, we'll have coverage of that here on ABC Sports. So if you wish to listen, probably easiest to download the app. You'll be able to click on the cricket toggle, but England 9 for 389, so they lead by 377 runs, and it may well and truly be beyond the Aussies. The news overnight as well that Stuart Broad has announced his retirement from Test cricket, so this will be his final test, and possibly one last time he'll be able to dismiss David Warner, and I think the Oval will go up as one if that is the case.
Pantomime villain, but he's been good for the game over such a long time, Stuart Broad.
I read a fantastic story, I think recently, by Dan Braddock, apologies if he wasn't the author of it, but about the year that Stuart Broad spent playing cricket, I think, in either Werribee or Hoppers Crossing, and I apologise if I've got that wrong, and the friendships that have endured from that point onwards with his teammates there, and the last time they toured, he was out for a night and a dinner with all of his teammates, or a lot of his teammates from that stay. And so as much as he is the pantomime villain for us Australians, he does have some very close friends here in Melbourne itself, and played a big role in shaping a young Stuart Broad, the cricketer. Cameron and Emma are listening on the SMS line. Near Kempsey, New South Wales, driving to Nambucca heads in and out of range using the AFL Extra app, or the ABC Extra app, I think it is there, they mean. Anxiously hoping Saints are still ahead as each service returns. So in and out of range there. Keep your text coming, 0437 774 774. The players in position. St Kilda did lead by 37 points at quarter time. They lead by 29 at the half, 11-3-69, plays 6-4-40. Joel Peterson, Ben Cameron calling the action. Brad Sewell and Karen Peterson, our experts. Ian Cohen downstairs a little later on. In about 40 minutes or so, we've got Melbourne and Richmond from the MCG. If you wish to listen to that, jump on the ABC Listen app. And then later today, following this game, the West Coast Eagles and North Melbourne to come. The umpire holding the ball in the middle of the ground. Let's go the second half. St Kilda leading by 29 points over Hawthorn.
Players in their positions for a good 45 seconds or so, just waiting for things to resume. We are underway in this second half. Brad Crouch busy in the opening for the Saints. James Warple leading the Hawks with 17 disposals. Crouch gets a kick away for St Kilda to centre half forward. Sharman, not with a fly this time, but just standing his ground at the top of the 50, pulls in the mark, and he might fancy his chances.
Terrific grab, wasn't it? Pressure coming from in front and behind.
So Cooper Sharman, he's 7 goals, 1 on set shots for the season. He will have to strike it from outside the 50. Saints so good in that opening half. Sharman trying to start them off on the right foot in the second half. His kick's just away to the right-hand side. The margin is an even 30 points.
Can't sleep listening from Kingston, Jamaica. Hopefully the Hawks get the W. A bit of a dodgy kick in, but Newcomb's able to spin out of trouble. Grubbers a kick away to a teammate in McDonald. Allows the Saints in again, but beelining it. Newcomb for the Hawks, wins it. Handball to Warple. Now running Impey through halfback into the middle of the ground. His kick is a turnover. Straight to Burns, marking backward of the logo for the Saints. Comes infield to Sinclair, who'll stab it short to Filippo. Just forward of the centre circles in the middle of the ground. Here at Docklands, puts it on his left leg, a high long kick to full forward. Up goes Sharman at the back, nearly Cordy. Following up Caminiti, gets it on the boot. His kick goes 5 metres and Hardwick fists it through. Ensures no further damage. A neat 5 goals, sorry, out to 31, not a neat 5 goals. 31 points, St Kilda's advantage, early stages of the second half.
Sicily stands at the top of the square before just loping in, no one within 30 metres of him. Sides his kick to the back edge of the square for Meek. Immediately plays on to Warple. Ryan, the first game has been good for the Hawks. A dangerous kick into the centre, and Wangani Millera goes over the top of Day, takes a little ride and the grab to Steele inside the forward 50, looking for Butler. But a terrific slips catch from Jarman Impey to intercept for Hawthorn. Pops it over the top to Sicily. Wangani Miller has had 21 disposals. That mark just a nice little addition to his game, which also includes a goal.
What a player he's becoming as Sicily kicks to the wing. Mark taken by Day. Just backward of the logo, gives off the handball to Hardwick cruising by. Likes the look of the switch, sends it out towards the dockside wing. Mark taken by McGuinness. Between the square and the logo, a little bereft initially, tries to take on Wood. Handball away to Weddle. Forward handball for Impey. Now they're under pressure. The Saints close. Windhager steals it. Handball to Sharman. Handball to Wood. Running down the wing. Low kick. Poor kick. Turnover. Mark taken by Frost at half-back for Hawthorn.
Hawthorn have battled their transition from the back half. It's been stagnant. It's been sideways, and comparing that to St Kilda, it's been hard to watch.
Oh, Hardwick's kick to centre half back. Set Warple a task. He couldn't take the mark. He ran back onto the ball. He got tackled immediately, dragged down. Umpire let it go. Bruce Donlan was circling, ready to blow the whistle. Ball came out at the last moment. A ball up at the top of the 50 for the Saints. Marshall and Meek wrestle their way toward the football. Taken off the stoppage by Wood. Steps inside the 50. Throws it on the boot to full forward. And the mark taken by Hardwick on the last line for the Hawks. Chips it short to McGuinness. Handball over the top to McDonald. Taken away by Wood for the Saints. Curls it back inside the forward 50 through the hands of Blank. 20 out from the St Kilda goal. He drags Caminiti to the ground. Ball does come out the back, almost for Crouch. They keep it alive, the Hawks. Hardwick fights for it. Butler 2. 20 out from that St Kilda goal. Weddle throws it on the boot. Out toward McDonald. Taken by Wood for St Kilda. He's dragged down by the opposite 32, McGuinness. Now Warple burst away. He's tackled as well. Got it to Newcomb. He's tackled. Slides through it. Hawks break clear to the wing.
Sweeping handball away to Moore. Shrugs a tackle. Now he's retreating on foot. Handball away to Impey. Handball back to Moore. Slick little handball to Newcomb. Inside the interchange gates, pulls his kick on the 45. Day's bundle over, 50-metre penalty. Battle late arriving, bumped into him. And I think Will Day was pretty content to take the contact and go to ground and win a 50-metre penalty. The mark will be set 30 metres out, slight angle to the right-hand side.
They are making hard work of it, Hawthorn, but you feel like if Day can kick truly here, momentum might just swing back their way a little bit.
An absolute star on the rise, Will Day. Spinning this Sharon. In his milestone match, game number 50. Can he take a goal to go away with? You bet he can. And the Hawks are right back in this. They will not give up, the young Hawks. 11-5-71 St Kilda. Hawthorn 7-4-46. The Hawks with the first of the second half. Brad Sewell, Karen Peterson.
Pretty ordinary start to the second half by both teams. There's been probably a dozen turnovers. And neither team has been able to really own possession or be able to transition the ball cleanly from either end. So Hawthorn really almost kicked one against the trend of play there. And unfortunately, I think it was Battle who came in, gave away that 50-metre penalty. Just didn't need to do it. He came in trying to mark it, but we all know that as soon as you make contact with a player who's taken a mark, that's going to be a 50-metre penalty. So it's a bit of a coach killer, that one. Just give Hawthorn a cheap goal to get the second half underway.
25 points the spread. Meek and Marshall again. Lloyd Meek decisively down to Newcombe, who shows them a clean pair of heels. Kicks to the pocket. Lewis will get there on the bounce, right at his bootlace as he stretched and couldn't pick it up. But gee, the Hawthorn supporters' eyes would have lit up seeing John Newcombe with a clean break out of the centre circles.
Jeez, he's quick and powerful, isn't he, coming through there? So clean. Just needed to pull the kick a little bit to hit up one of his forwards, but that's the Hawthorn that we've come to see in the last couple of weeks.
Ball tossed back in. Meek down to Wingard. Takes it, snaps and scores in an instant. Chad Wingard showing all his craft. And the Hawks have got 2 in a minute as Chad boots his second of the afternoon. 8-4-52 to 11-5-71. 7 minutes gone in the third quarter. The margin is back under 20.
Bit of life, bit of energy, isn't there? Hawthorn have two consecutive goals now. And importantly, there's a centre clearance, a clean break from Newcombe. Although he missed Lewis coming out, they'd like to hit that a little bit better next time. Saints need to respond here, at least get the centre clearance, give themselves a chance inside 50.
Well, that was Newcombe again. He was the one who impacted on Wingard's direct opponent in that stoppage. They worked really well together, just creating space for Wingard. He was obviously the go-to player from the stoppage and played that really well.
Bounce in the middle of the ground. Marshall taking it out of the ruck, kicking inside 50. Sicily playing in front. Will get the free kick. Couldn't take the mark, but St Kilda player felled off the ball as well. It's reversed. Butler's been bundled over. Ill discipline from the Hawks, and Sam Mitchell will be fuming. Frosty's had a brain freeze. He's knocked over Sam Butler, and Butler will get the free kick. 35 out, slightest of angles to the right-hand side.
Gee, there wasn't much in it, was there?
Logie's later tonight. Maybe Dan Butler belongs there. His kick on goal is good. He belongs here with a finish like that. A third major for Dan Butler. And St Kilda with the steadier. Their 12th major, 12-5-77, plays 8-4-52. 9 minutes into the third term on Grandstand AFL.
We don't see it too often anymore where a player gets dragged and gets handed the phone from the coach, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell drags him for that. I mean, look, to be fair, there wasn't a lot in it, but you just don't put yourself in that situation. Just no need. Your skipper's won a free kick in the back line. You just don't need to put yourself in a position where you give away a really cheap kick.
Let's go downstairs to Ian Cohen.
Well, you might have heard the roar from the crowd. It was the first time it came up on the screen, and it's fair to say Hawthorn faithful were not happy with the efforts of Dan Butler, and we'll wait and see what happens with Sam Frost.
Ball back in the middle. Marshall had it bounce his way. Hawks fans wanted it recalled. Spilled out the side. Tackle laid by Burns. Ball's not going anywhere. Secondary ball up in the centre. Hawks trail by 25 points. 10 minutes gone, third term. Grandstand AFL. Sinclair with the clearance. Wide kick will bounce just inside the field of play. Bramble was pretty happy to see it out. Kept it alive and handball to Sicily. To Impey. Back to Sicily. Ran into Gresham. Saints with a chance now at half forward. Low kick inside 50 from Crouch. Now Clark bursting through. Has another. They just willed it forward, St Kilda. And Hunter Clark adds his name to the list. And right when Hawthorn looked like they really had a sniff, the Saints go whack, whack, and the margin's back out above 5 goals. 13-5-83 to 8-4-52. 11 minutes played in the third quarter.
Terrific response by the Saints. Exactly what they needed. It's what we were questioning at half-time, whether they can maintain that intensity. Quick response. Hawthorn kicking 2 in a row. Saints have gone bang, bang. Can't help but laugh. When the camera shoots to the Hawthorn box, you can just see Mitch His body language questioning David Hale sitting next to him going, what on earth is happening?
You wouldn't want to be David Hale, would you?
I don't think there would be anyone sitting next to Mitch in that box at the moment.
Just copping it at the moment. In the middle, Caminiti in the ruck. Tries to gather it a couple of times, can't do so successfully. Nash out of the middle, gets it on the right boot. High ball inside 50. Looking for a marker down there. Bruce impeded, held, free kick. Luke Bruce, the dead-eye with a set shot. Mark 40 metres out, 30-degree angle right-hand side.
Hawthorn just looks so much better when they're playing forward ball movement, and even though that was a pretty ordinary scrappy kick going forward, it gained territory and put Bruce in an opportunity to win the ball.
Well, Luke Bruce, usually so reliable. The drop punt here is away to the left. It's short as well. And through hands, Mitch Lewis going up for it, through for a minor score. So 30 points, St Kilda's advantage. And just managed to snuff out the Hawthorn challenge for the time being anyway.
Sinclair into Wilkie. On the battle, back to Wilkie and now to Stocker. Managed out of the team last week, Liam Stocker, but he's been an important part of this St Kilda side since crossing from Carlton. Right foot kick was neat out to Battle. He can go long up the city side. Sharman's been flying all afternoon. Gets over the back of him and it's marked easily by Weddle. Almost encroachment there as Cooper Sharman was keen to crib the mark. Now Josh Weddle stationary, not looking all that certain of where he's going to go with it. So he chips defensively inside the back arc and finds Hardwick for the Hawks.
Hardwick will go laterally. Mark taken by Nash. What a find he's been. Nash, the Irishman, goes back to Sicily.
Saints have done really well defensively all day, just disallowing Hawthorn any transition out of their back half, covering the exits.
Got their zone all set up right across the ground. Beautifully set up. Sicily nowhere to go. Now he stops, props, pulls a neat kick away to Wingard. Wingard marks backward of the logo. Waits a kick over the top today. Now it all opens up. Day will drive it long. Lewis back leading towards goal. Outbodies his opponent and marks. A little shove to Stocker. And Lewis can go back. 30-degree angle, marks at 15 out. And kick for the Sticks.
Hawthorn's prime movers all involve Sicily to Wingard, to Day, then Lewis deep in the forward line.
Mitch Lewis just simply needs to finish and does so. The young Hawks won't go away. 2 for Mitch Lewis. It's back to 4 goals, the St Kilda lead. 13-5-83, plays 9-5-59. Nearly the quarter-hour mark in this third-term grandstand AFL.
Such is the lack of trust I have in St Kilda. It just feels like it can turn really quickly.
Sound like a Saints fan, Sully.
You and everyone else, Sully, I think.
I mean, I'm trying not to be too biased.
No, fair enough.
I think most Saints supporters could probably sympathise with you there.
It feels live, doesn't it?
It really does.
And
it shouldn't, but it does.
And not in the way that commentators like to tell you that it feels live so you don't tune out. This genuinely feels live.
Well, they've had enough opportunity to really put this game to bed, but instead, they're just making really poor choices and poor errors on that occasion there. St Kilda just got way too high up the ground with their defensive positioning and allowed Day, who's a terrific kick, to put the ball to advantage and go over the top of everyone.
Meek down decisively at the restart. Down to Warple, grabbed by Crouch, holding the ball. He got caught in a big way. Brad Crouch was latched onto Warple. Won a best and fairest at Adelaide a couple of years ago, and Warple, of course, a best and fairest at Hawthorn, and back to some of his best this season. Crouch into the path of Sharman, who's up at left half forward, 65 from home. Low kick inside the forward 50, picked up beautifully by Marshall, hooks it around the body, high ball, 30 metres out, dangerous spot. Filippo got upstairs, couldn't mark, bashed away from him. Chasing after it, Windhager. Brockman's there to provide support for the Hawks. Handball to Moore inside the defensive 50. Now to Ward, he can kick up the outer side wing.
His kick to the wing, meeting at Meek, can't gather, or Lewis rather. Now he receives the handball from Warple. Handball away to the runner, McDonald. Gives it off to Day. Chips inside 50 and Bruce. You hear the cheer of Bruce. He marks 40 out, slide angle left of centre.
Will Day again through the middle part of the ground. They get the ball in his hands. He is finding a target inside 50 on each occasion.
Luke Bruce, 4-time the champion goal kicker at the Hawks. Over 500 in his career. And another important one for the Hawks. Back to 3 goals. He's got 3 for the afternoon. 13-5-83 St Kilda. Hawthorn 10-5-65. It's 18 points. Got as wide as 42 when Zane Cordy kicked the opening goal of the second term. And Hawthorn have chipped away at it. Now 17 minutes into the third term. It's just 18, as I said.
Oh, you beat me to it, Sula, because I was about to start singing the praises of Will Day again. People in the footy circles talk about that money kick as being the last kick that goes inside forward 50. It's by far the most important kick, because if you make poor decisions or you can't execute the skill, it makes it very challenging to put scores on the board. But Will Day has just shown an example twice in a row how important that kick is and how good of a kick he is.
Round 12, 1999. I think Saints fans and Hawks fans would remember Hawthorn came back from 63 points behind St Kilda on that day. Not quite a comeback of that magnitude so far, nor are we saying that's what's going to happen, but it's been an injection of life back into this game. Owens is up in the middle of the ground. He takes it away for St Kilda, and his tumbling kick inside the forward 50 is marked by Sharman. So again, when Hawthorn challenge and peg this margin back, the Saints generate another scoring opportunity.
Those centre clearances are just so important. Great purchase from the, I'm not sure who the St Kilda midfielder was, but getting some good length on that kick.
Cooper Sharman, 45-metre kick to get one back for the Saints. He just squeezes it in. And it's just as St Kilda needed it. Sharman's second, margin back out to 4 goals. And it's just bouncing around between 3 goals and 5 goals here in this third term. 10-5 the Hawks, 14-5 the Saints. 18 minutes played in the third quarter. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Brad Saul and Karen Peterson.
So taxing playing catch-up football, which is what Hawthorn are trying to do. So much effort, so much good play, 2 consecutive goals, and Saints just getting one back to keep Hawthorn at arm's length.
Yeah, Hawthorn are working really hard for their scores, and the quick response from St Kilda, that's pretty deflating if you're the Hawthorn defenders in particular, but through the midfield as well. So damaging from that centre bounce clearance, and just putting it to the advantage of the forward in really quick succession is very deflating.
Had a couple of massive flies today, Cooper Sharman. Hasn't been able to bring any down. Ball bounce in the middle. Right as Lloyd Meek went with the volleyball spike forward.
It's a bit inconsistent, isn't it, the recall of the bounce? Hawthorn supporters not happy because 4 or 5 minutes ago almost landed in the same spot and it was play on.
Umpire Matthew Young this time puts it aloft, and swatting it down is Marshall, but a Warple quickly tackled by Steele.
It's been good, Warple. He's had 21 touches, 14 of those contested.
Umpire goes again. Marshall knocking it down. Warple coming through. He's tackled quickly by Wood. No room to move for Warple in the middle. 24 points in Kilda's lead, just repeating 42 points as big as it got early in the second.
Of course, big comeback from GWS in Ballarat yesterday. The Dogs led by 35 in that game. Biggest comeback in club history for the Giants. And a weekend of upsets so far. Again, Meek and Marshall. Battle in the middle. Connor McDonald scoots away with the football, runs in an arc, kicks inside the forward 50. Bruce up to collect it, just had it slip through his hands at the critical moment, and Webster takes it away for the Saints. Butler a little feint outside to come back inside to Gresham, who's in a ton of space at half forward. Pops his handball over the top to Sharman. Sharman inside the 50. Caminiti, he's thrown the elbow at Sicily there. He took the mark, turned around, and threw his right elbow at James Sicily, collected him. Sicily went down. That free kick has been paid to Hawthorn. The skipper's got it inside the back 50.
That'll be one to take a look at the replay. Keep your eyes peeled. Brad Sewell and Kieran Peterson, the kick to the wing. It falls down in front of the pack and they quickly wrap it up.
Not much in that.
Not much in it?
No less. Ross Lyon will be furious giving the ball back to Hawthorn in that position.
Sicily putting in his effort for the Logies. Vote for your favourite ABC personality. Here goes Impey through the middle of Docklands. Long kick inside 50 for the Hawks, looking for a marker. Wilkie cuts across and intercepts for St Kilda. Peels off a kick to the wing. Higgins marks. Plays on quickly. Eyes inside 50. Looking for Caminiti. Trying to make amends. Blank halves the contest, then wins it at ground level. Frost receives the handball. There's a free kick
he's
as
gone
well.
on with it. Caminiti again. He's just given away another. Getting a bit frustrated. There wasn't a lot in that. Sorry, it wasn't Caminiti.
Sharman, rather.
Sharman, yeah.
So Sharman giving away the free kick, and the Hawks at fullback through Day.
Never really looks like he's not at ease, Will Day, with the ball in hand, but he's just loping through the back 50 with 3 bounces. Kicks out wide, straight to Crouch, who intercepts for St Kilda. Aggressive kick up the middle. Meek ran in a straight line at the ball, knocked it away from Gresham. Spilt straight to Steele, handball to Owens. He can go through the centre of the ground. Steps one way, the other. High kick inside the forward 50. Here is Caminiti, Sicily upstairs. And the best new performer at the Logies takes it across the defensive 50 and just floats the kick beautifully to Impey at half-back for Hawthorn.
Impey will chip it over the top. The kick's a good one. Able to find Weddle, no room to run there. Wood closes him down. You know, he likes to wriggle away, Weddle. Handball to Impey. Handball away to McDonald, who will kick up towards half forward. No mark taken. Lewis. Handball away to Nash. Handball away to Wingard. Under pressure, does well. Gets it off to Lewis. Leading Bruce to the pocket. Great delivery. And Bruce marks on his chest. Left forward pocket. 45-degree angle, 30 out.
Hawks can just pinch another couple here before three-quarter time. We're going to have a cracking final quarter.
Bruce. There it is. His 4th of the afternoon. And Hawthorn close again. 11-5-71. They move to 14-5-89. An 18-point advantage to the Saints. 23 minutes into this third-term grandstand AFL.
The pressure has just been absolutely dialed up as almost as high as it can go. There is spot fires all over the ground. Frost and Caminiti were still having words as that goal was being kicked, and it was Mitch Lewis that made that kick in. That is a terrific kick to the leading forward in Bruce. He's had a great afternoon, but this is game on here. Absolutely game on.
Thoughts of Carlton AFLW captain Kieran Peterson alongside Brad Sewell this afternoon.
It was meant to be like, Bruce, there it is, which is what they sing, but I didn't quite get the execution right.
One of those ones you've got to really go for.
Yeah. You might have another chance yet.
Yep.
Absolutely. Kick 5 against Port Adelaide back in round 12. He's got 4 so far. Warple out of the middle to Wingard, 60 from home. Bruce, there he is. Just inside the 50. 40-degree angle out to the left.
Jack Steele is unhappy about something. He's trying to get to 2 or 3 Hawthorn blokes and a few jumper punches getting thrown very casually.
Luke Bruce to make it a handful for him. And a 12-point ball game. Kicks across the face. McGuinness floats in. Can't take the mark. Meek is there. Tried to ride a couple of St Kilda tackles. Clearing kick off the last line from Wood. Nash will keep it in at half forward for Hawthorn. Handball back to Blank.
Blank, a little unsure, goes short to Warple, who's clattered into by Wood, paid the mark. Warple gets up and rips Mason Wood to ground. Nothing doing in terms of a 50. Marks it, 47 out. Warple going back, holding his lower back.
Has he got the leg, Sully?
I don't think so. I'm hoping he pulls it, puts about 15 out.
Maybe he can go the Warpedo. And he's going to stutter in and go with the drop punt towards the goal square. Can they find a mark? Stocker over the pack, punches it through.
Yeah, it's not a great kick, is it? All it's allowing is the defenders to come through and do that. If he had to put that 25 out, they don't have the opportunity to do that.
17 points to margin. Kick into Windhager, to Stocker. And now Wilkie. The Saints have been really closed down in this ball game. Wilkie's kick out toward the wing, bashed down by Hardwick, taken by McKenzie. He's wrapped up, ball up.
Players should have a better awareness of their leg length and playing percentages late in the game.
The NRL marking still on the field, about 30 metres out on the eastern touchline. As the ball goes up, comes back down, they pile on, free kick, and it is going to the Hawks. Dylan Moore, he's 70 from home. Lewis presents an option at full forward. Kick goes in that direction. Ryan's there as well. Hands to it for Hawthorn. Spills down to Wilkie. Immediately the Saints are under pressure. Birds to Windhager, who got absolutely flattened. And it's a Hawthorn free kick in the left forward pocket to Chad Wingard.
Chad's been good this third quarter in particular.
He got up appealing, and the umpire was behind him and was holding the ball.
Wingard pokes it to the pocket. Lewis, the target. Heavy fall. He attacks the football with such vigour, Mitch Lewis. He'll bounce back up to his feet and a ball in. Left forward pocket, 30 around from the Hawks goal. They trail by 17 points. We're 28 minutes through this third term, but they're closing at a rate of knots.
And they find one late. Here the Hawks, Marshall down in front. Ricochets to Steele, clear and kick. Half forward for the Hawks. They're onto it. McGuinness closed down by Butler, holding the ball. Newcomb and Hunter Clark still going on after it. And again, there's a few spot fires. Butler will get the free kick.
Poor awareness by McGuinness, had to know better.
A dicey kick from Butler, but it finds Steele, who's dealt with. There is feeling in this one.
Yeah, Hardwick made him earn that one, didn't he?
Steele moves it out to the wing and Wangani Malera.
Disposal number 23. Chips short to Windhager. Couple of the young guns for the Saints combined. On the AFL logo broadcast side, long high kick inside the forward 50 is clattered away by Frost, straight into the path of Newcomb, and now to Moore. Hawthorn can break to the outer side. Moore will float his kick out wide to Wingard. That's all slowed down for a moment. Wingard's kick infield, knocked down by Sharman, slid in, couldn't claim the mark. Newcomb goes back in, he lays a tackle. Hawks fans won't holding the ball, they won't get it. And a ball up between the wing and half forward. Saints into attack, still leading 89-72, closing in on three-quarter time.
Umpire puts it up. Make up to knock it down. Clearance coming for the Hawks from Weddle into the middle of the ground, and the mark taken by Wood. So Wood able to hold up the attack of Hawthorn for the time being. 17 points. They did lead by 42, St Kilda. Wood waiting a kick. Dicey looking for Wangani Malera. Impey onto it. They've got Bruce out the back. He's inside 50 all alone. He stops, stands and marks. Poor turnover. And Bruce can look to kick his fifth.
Wilkie is furious at Mason Wood, and as he should be. Short to a 50, not even to a
3-on-1 really.
50, yeah.
This would be a massive blow right on the stroke of three-quarter time. Brewster's been an absolute handful, and that's how many goals he's got. 5 for Luke Bruce, and the margin's inside 2 goals. St Kilda's lead cut to 11. 14-5-89 plays 12-6-78. Hawthorn right back in it.
Is that 4 this quarter for Bruce? I think I was looking at half time. 3, is it?
4 since half time, yep.
Yeah. Great transition by Hawthorn. St Kilda, just an absolute brain fade by Mason Wood, as he's prone to do from time to time.
Well, there's areas of the ground that, you know, if you're going to kick the ball into, you have to be absolutely sure of it, because if you don't, what happens is that rebound, that slingshot that Hawthorn were just able to effect from their half back line and push forward. St Kilda defenders were absolutely nowhere, and they shouldn't have been because they had control of possession, but it's too challenging to defend.
Kieran Peterson and Brad Saul, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Warple extracts it for Hawthorn. Handball to half forward, taken by McKenzie. Goes back to Newcomb. Now to McDonald, 60 metres out inside the 50, looking for Wingard. Couldn't take it. Wood stands in the road. Kick out wide. Will bounce out of play. It'll be deliberate. It'll be deliberate. And the Hawks will get another opportunity. McDonald dumps it inside the arc. Lewis over the top. It is smashed away from him. And it's out for a throw in left forward pocket. You can feel the confidence and the urgency among the Hawthorn fans. They still trail by 11, but they've kicked 6 goals to 3 in the quarter. We're nearly at three-quarter time.
Saints need the siren here just to collect and regroup.
Meek and Marshall. Meek brings it down. Going in, more low down, he's tackled quickly, umpire, arms to the chest, ball up, the siren not far away.
Cannot afford to give a free kick away to St Kilda.
Rossline sauntering down, looking less than impressed. Meek slaps it down, siren sounds, as Joel said, 6 goals to 3 in the third term for the Hawks. There was a point in this match at which St Kilda had kicked 10 goals to 3 and led by 42 points. All of a sudden, it's inside 2 goals, 11 points, 14-5-89. St Kilda, Hawthorn 12-6-78. Luke Bruce, 5 goals for the Hawks, 2 to Mitch Lewis, singles to Will Day, Dylan Moore and Brandon Ryan, while for St Kilda, 2 to Caminiti, 2 to Sharman, 2 to Butler, 2 to Crouch, singles, Wanganeen, Malira, Clark, Marshall, Cordy and Wood. If you joined us late, Zach Jones subbed out of the game with a lower leg injury. Seamus Mitchell has been a find for the Hawks this year, subbed out for tactical reasons in the second term. It's St Kilda by 11 points. This is Grandstand AFL.
You'll always find top drama on ABC iView. Show me what you got. Always intriguing with The Messenger and Smother. I don't know who to trust anymore. People think I'm a psycho. Always dramatic with Vandervolk and In Our Blood.
She really doesn't like you. The world needs beautiful things right now.
And always different with In Limbo, Bay of Fires, and so much more.
I'm back for an encore.
A surprise holiday. You'll always find the best drama. Happy. Streaming for free on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Ball tossed back in. Meek down to Wingard. Takes it, snaps and scores in an instant. Chad Wingard showing all his craft. And the Hawks have got 2 in a minute. Low kick inside 50 from Crouch. Now Clark bursting through, has another. They just willed it forward, St Kilda. And Hunter Clark adds his name to the list. And right when Hawthorn looked like they really had a sniff, the Saints go whack, whack.
Lewis, handball away to Nash, handball away to Wingard. Under pressure, does well. Gets it off to Lewis, leading Bruce to the pocket. Great delivery. Bruce. There it is. His 4th of the afternoon. And Hawthorn close again.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Great to have you with us. What a grandstand finish we've got on Grandstand AFL. St Kilda by 11 points, 14-5-89, plays 12-6-78. I want to read this out as well. Todd in Perth, in the garden, listening before the Wooden Spoon game. Going to the Wooden Spoon games. They might have left by now, but says, enjoying listening to the best callers in the country on the ABC. My daughter and I went to Geraldton a couple of weeks ago to watch the Rams play Towns, featuring a couple of old Warriors, Josh Kennedy and Mark LeCras. Lots of photos and signatures with the kids, and just a couple of ripper blokes. Thanks for that, Todd. Our attention here, though, Brad Saul, Kieran Peterson. It's all set up.
Ooh, Hawthorn have given the Saints an almighty start. Catch-up footy is incredibly taxing and takes its toll. Hawthorn have given themselves every chance in that third quarter. Saints dropped their guard. A couple of silly free kicks. Momentum completely swung against them. Have they got enough left in the tank to keep their nose in front.
Which camp would you rather be a part of, Sully? I know which one your heart says, but right now, what does your head say?
No, my head says Hawthorn still.
Yeah, okay.
My head says Hawthorn. Just the momentum that they've got and the ascendancy they've had through the middle part of the ground, particularly in that third quarter, I think was important.
Yeah, one of the stats it's interesting, and it speaks to the point that we were talking about. I think it was with the Bruce, the latest Bruce goal in that last quarter. 4 of the 5 goals in that third term came from defensive half intercepts. So probably a combination of poor inside 50 entries and their ball movement at St Kilda in the forward half. But equally, the way that Hawthorn were able to set up defensively across the back half of the ground and then slingshot forward and give Bruce, who absolutely ignited what was that Hawthorn comeback in the third term. That's a really important thing, and I'm sure something that St Kilda will look to tighten up, because they were doing that really well in the first half, where their slick ball movement through the middle of the ground really diced and opened Hawthorn up. But conversely, Hawthorn were able to really tighten that down in the third term. And importantly, they weren't just getting the turnovers, they were actually affecting scores from those turnovers. So something that Hawthorn will look to continue to do, but obviously St Kilda must tighten up with their forward 50 entries.
Most excitingly is that both sides have to take risks. Both sides have to win this, and as we've seen, when either side is prepared to take those risks through the middle part of the ground and go forward as opposed to laterally, get some overlap handball, or when either defence gets too high, particularly St Kilda's, then Bruce in that third quarter managed to capitalise. He's so clever at getting in behind the defence like that, and that's when some of the level heads of Hawthorn managed to cut them up through the middle.
A reminder at the end of this game, we'll send you off to Perth Stadium, the final game of round 20. The West Coast Eagles against North Melbourne. Clint Wilden, Mitch Turner, Shane Woden, Bo McDonald and Jenny Wallace on the boundary to bring you that fixture. But boy, we've got a quarter left here. 11 points, St Kilda's advantage, having led by 42. Will turn for home on Grandstand AFL, underway in the fourth. Marshall and Meek both with hands on it. Owens in the middle now for St Kilda. Wins the clearance, hooks across his body towards half forward. Bouncing ball coming out. Sharman tackled quickly by Sicily. Sicily holds it in. Ensures it's not getting out of there. And a ball up between wing and half forward for St Kilda.
He did well not to give away a free kick then, Sicily. Drove him to the ground but didn't get in his back. Really well played.
High scoring third term all season for the Hawks. Drag them back into this ball game. Marshall high inside the forward 50. Butler read it beautifully off the pack for the Saints. Handballed off to Gresham. Grabbed Impey. Impey got his kick away. Then Wood lays a fierce tackle on McGuinness. And another ball up. Those two have been locked in combat for much of this second half. Mason Wood and Finn McGuinness. Up it goes inside forward 50 for the Saints. Owens has a play at it. Crouch crashes through. Got taken high by Newcomb. Brad Crouch will get a free. 45 from home. 5 in from the boundary in the right forward pocket.
Well done, Saints. They've started this final quarter with some real intent. They've been harder around the contest and just managed to bludgeon the ball forward, and good experience by Crouch to draw the free kick.
Consistent ball winner for them, Brad Crouch. 25 disposals in each of his games since round 11. This is a tough kick on the right boot. Sends it on its way. Looks pretty good. It'll just float across the face, where it is thumped through for a rushed score that makes the margin an even 2 kicks. 14-6 to 12-6. 2 played final term.
Sicily with the kick in. Looking to get it to Newcomb. Big right on Wood. Brings it down and moves it on quickly with the handball to McGuinness. Runs into a cul-de-sac. Has to go back to Newcomb. Newcomb kicks around the dockside wing and coming across, battle marks. Claims it for St Kilda. Backward of the logo. St Kilda as it stands on the live ladder 5th. A loss and they'll be 8th and in danger. Battle kicks back forward of the wing for the Saints. Unable to mark there on this occasion, Sicily, but Impey mops up, bad handball, loose footy inside 50 for St Kilda. Higgins picks it up, away to Butler, spins out of trouble, handball to Gresham, in the goal square, puts it through. St Kilda swoop on the Hawks' mistake, and boy do they make them pay. They're back out by 3 goals. 15-6-96 plays 12-6-78. 2.5 minutes into the final term.
Well done by the Saints. Pressure staying in the contest. Errant handball, and they managed to capitalise. Butler so creative. Finding the spare over the top. And again, when you give a side a start in the way that Hawthorn does, that one goal just makes it so much harder to peg back. 3 straight kicks in front now, St Kilda.
Won just 6 of their 18 final quarters on the season, the Hawks. 16th best in the competition in that measure. Meek was dragged down by Marshall.
That's indicative of a young side too, playing 4 quarters.
Run over last week, but of course cast your mind back to round 10. The Saints kicked the first goal of the final term. Hawthorn trailed by 20 points a couple of minutes into that final quarter. They trailed by a couple of goals with 10 minutes left. They kicked the last 4 to beat the Saints by 10. Crouch at the stoppage for St Kilda at halfback. Kicked it straight into Sicily. It ricocheted back to him. Handball off to Owens. Awkward bounce for Wanganeen Malera. Forces his way back onto the ball. Did well. Got the handball away to Owens. Now back to Crouch for the Saints. Kicks up toward half forward. Caminiti stretches and pulls it in. Terrific overhead mark. He's 75 from home up at right half forward.
So Caminiti had an interesting day. Sets up a high ball towards a massive pack. Sharman tries again. He can't quite bring down a massive hanger for the 4th time today. And Brockman will clear for the Hawks, but straight back to Sinclair in the middle.
He's good value with nothing else. Here's Sinclair inside the 50. Higgins gets upstairs and drags it in. Not quite as athletic as Cooper Sharman, but impressive nonetheless. Jack Higgins, 45 metres out, can go back and have a shot. Hasn't got his name among the goal kickers this afternoon, Jack Higgins. He's on his way in. 29 on the season. Career best in any season so far. He's 30. He likes it off the boot. He wheels away in celebration. And what a time to put your name on the score sheet in a major sense. St Kilda cracked the ton. 16-6, 102 to Hawthorn, 12-6-78. The margin's out to 4 kicks, 5 minutes into the last.
I think that'll just about do Hawthorn for the moment. St Kilda's come out of 3/4 time with a bit more run in their legs, a bit more aggression at the ball. They're just sticking their tackles. That last passage of play, Hawthorn defender cleared it to the open side of the ground, and Hawthorn defenders and their midfielders didn't transition quick enough across the ground, allowing, I think it was Sinclair to spot up Higgins all on his own inside D50. When majority of the team from a defensive perspective is inside D50, you really shouldn't be able to spot someone up as quickly as that. So St Kilda full of run and full of aggression at the moment.
Only the 2nd time this year St Kilda have gone into triple figures, and they win it out of the middle again. Sinclair releases Steele with the handball, who kicks long towards full forward. Caminiti opposed to Blank, and Blank does well. He sees it out. A throw in right forward pocket. 6 minutes played in the 4th term. Out by 4 goals, St Kilda. Umpire brings it back in. Knocking it down Meek, onto it Warple. Back feeds a handball away to Nash and then away to Blank.
Short kick to Sicily's a good one. Handball to Nash, back to Sicily, running through the junction of the 50 in the boundary. Pokes it over the top, finds Weddle. Really impressive first year Hawk. All the dash and athleticism in the world as a key defender. Left foot kick up the City wing. Ryan runs under the football. Taken by Marshall of the Saints. Goes to ground. Newcomb's there. Tries to force his way through the Battle tackle. He's wrapped up by Battle and by Clark. And the ball up alongside the logo. Outer side of the ground. Hawks ever so slightly into attack. Marshall lays a fierce tackle. Dislodged the ball, but it's spilt to Nash for Hawthorn. High kick to the edge of the 50. Ryan's underneath it. Comes down to Wanganeen Malera. to Webster, now to Wood, kick around the body, it'll get to Wanganeen Malira on the bounce. He tried to slip the tackle, went to ground, got the handball away, only as far as Mackenzie. Now Impey at half forward for the Hawks, back to Mackenzie, a little bit of tunnel ball at half forward, spills through the hands of Weddle, he drags Webster down, now Wingard, back to McDonald, Hawthorn still at left half forward.
McDonald gives it off to Frost, waits a kick for Ryan, the gangly debutant, like a praying mantis. Gets his arms up and takes the mark. 45 out, slight angle left of centre.
Good test to see what his range is like here.
I can absolutely see what Sam Mitchell meant by a little uncanny. Already got a goal on debut. On his left, he unloads and kicks long across the face. Just out to the right. And a minor score.
All arms and legs, isn't he?
Yep. So inside 4 goals, 23 points in Kilda's lead.
Not the most refined set shot motion.
Bit of work to do there.
It's all right, RFIs. We can deal with that.
A lot of upside.
Absolutely. He's shown some real glimpses. Burns has got it at half back after receiving from Wilkie and just slices his kick. Beautiful ball to Clark. Now to Billings across the front of the centre square to Wanganeen Malira. They're lining up for the Saints. Handball off to Crouch. Gets inside of Frost to just about shut the door on it. 3 for Brad Crouch. As many as he's kicked all season. And the Saints lead by 29. 17-6, 108. To Hawthorn, 12-7-79. 9 minutes gone in the final term on Grandstand AFL.
Great ball movement by the Saints. Hawthorn with witches' hats. Sort of caught in no man's land. And as has been mentioned, St Kilda have had more run in this final quarter.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hawthorn, they've just stopped, haven't they? You've mentioned it a couple of times, Sully, how many tickets it takes to get back into a game when you give up a lead like they did in that first quarter. And looks like they're all out of gas. And it is, again, young team will get very deflated when a team like St Kilda is going to pile on 2 or 3 quick goals in the last term.
An equal career high for Brad Crouch in terms of goals kicked in a game, with his 3 today. Umpire puts it up and knocking it down Marshall. Hunter Clark trying to get after it. So too Owens, who extracts it, holding free kick. Marshall will get it. Marshall in the middle of the ground. Unsure, so away to kick for a lateral lead for Wood, who takes it in front of Sicily. And right there with him, James Sicily. Mark set 70 out. 2 kicks from home, St Kilda. Lead by 29. Wood veers out to the left. Low kick towards full forward. Big pack forms off hands. Higgins gets it on the boot in the goal square. His second. St Kilda running away with it. The Hawks have stopped to a walk. 35 points. 18-6, 114. Plays 12-7-79. 11 minutes into the fourth.
Terrific kick by Wood, wasn't it? Penetrating, low and flat. Soft drop, well read by Higgins. Jarman Impey just got lost in the ball flight there, giving goal side to Higgins. Cannot do that with a quality small forward.
We talked about it, I think, at the start of the game, Sully, when we talked about the inconsistencies of St Kilda and how frustrating it might be as one of their supporters. And you can see why when today they'd be quite proud of their team. They started like an absolute house on fire, piled on 9 goals in the opening term in really electric football, and they were challenged by Hawthorn, and a bit of experience and great players has just settled the nerves and kicked away in this last term.
Benny and I rifling through the filing cabinet at the front of the desk. It's the highest score for the Hawks all season. Low kick inside the forward 50 for the Hawks. He's marked by Brockman, who claimed the mark. In a different sport, they might have gone upstairs to have a look at that. And he might have kept it off the turf, Tyler Brockman, the West Aussie. A couple of question marks around his future during the week. What can he do with the set shot from right at the top of the 50? 35-point spread before the kick. Brockman ambles in, lets it go. and it's left. It's a minor score. Margin is 34 the way of St Kilda. 12 minutes through the final term.
Well, the kick in puts Wilkie under a little bit of pressure. Wanganeen Malera comes across to clean up his mess. Receives it. Handball to Burns. Tight roping the boundary line. Does well in the end. Kicks up to the wing. St Kilda have the numbers. Out the back it goes to Gresham. So Jade Gresham started today as the sub. He's come on and got busy. Disposal number 15. Away to Wanganeen Malera. Back to Gresham. High kick to half forward. Massive pack. Off the hands there of Sicily. Clark Rose. Handball to turnover. Warpool for the Hawks. Handball to Brockman. Back the other way go the Hawks. Frost releases the runner McGuinness. Short kick for Wingard. Can't mark. Gathers again. Handball to Ward. Running a little arc and then his kick smothered by Clark. Ricochets away to Newcomb. Newcomb bursts through. Goes with the kick on goal. It'll go to the pocket. Lewis. Can't mark. Roving Brockman. Sweeping handball in the goal square. Sticking a boot at it. Ryan. The praying mantis. All arms and legs, as we've said. And his leg was just longer.
Any chance he's got a soccer background?
Peter Crouch.
Yeah, he might be 2 metre Peter.
Review underway.
We're going to review it, but I think he got a boot to it. It's whether it hit Battles on the way through as well.
Was he Stoke back in the day, Peter Crouch?
At Liverpool, Stoke. Go to Tottenham briefly? Maybe not. He's definitely got his boot on it. Our man Ryan.
What was the soft call?
No, I don't think we got a soft call.
It is the thing missing from the review process is that it should be up on the screen.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Even by the way the ball is deflected as both boots have swung at it.
I think the last touch is off Ryan's boot.
Yeah, that's no question as well.
Review complete. Looking at these angles, there is insufficient evidence to say which boot the ball came off last. Decision on the scoreboard.
So soft call must have been a behind, presumably. No umpire standing to give it a point. Touched. I'm not so sure about that. I thought that was off his boot last. Brandon Ryan.
Either way, you don't expect your 200 centimetre, 90 kilo key forward on his debut to be doing that.
Oh, Wanganeen Miller has kicked it 20 rows out of bounds on the full. He's had a good day. That was a strange decision. He ran into the back pocket and just blazed it out of bounds on the full.
Like he was kicking for touch.
Someone he knew in F32 got a touch of the football. Here's McDonald for the Hawks. Puts it back to full forward and big Rowan Marshall bullocks his way through the pack and takes the mark. Top of the defensive goal square for the Saints goes back to Wanganeen Malera. This is where he kicked the last one from. See what he does with this. He might take a more conventional option, I'd say, Benny. He does. He pops it over the top to Mason Wood.
Smart. Elsewhere, Richmond leading by 10 points early on in the first of that fixture. The kick to the wing. Loose footy picked up by Sicily for the Hawks. Handball away to Weddle, to McDonald, and now to Moore. Chip short. The kick is good for McKenzie. Kicks out in front of a target. Ward leading towards goal. Tries to gather on the bounce. Gets a handball away. Billings coming through. And close to the boundary line. He keeps it in. And the Saints should work it out. Burns carried out in the Wingard tackle. I need to get a closer look at Jack Billings. Last week he was rolling with the glove for the fractured thumb and the goatee. Sort of a Fraser Garrick throwback or something, I'm not sure.
The G train meets the B train. Newcomb at the stoppage. Handball away. Filippo picked it up for the Saints inside the defensive 50, and here they go. Owens a handball forward to Caminiti. Riding shotgun out wide is Higgins. He's got Sharman who's going to get out the back. Pulled the kick. It was a little bit too flat to get to him. And Blank intercepts easily for Hawthorn. Sends it out wide for Ward. Pops it on over the top to Jarman Impey. Defensive side of the City wing. St Kilda by 33 points. They led by 42 early in the second term. Big fly from Webster who couldn't take the mark. Hawks got the margin back to 11 late in that third quarter. That's what we turned for home with the spread at. But it's been all the Saints so far. Hawks have kicked 3 behinds in this quarter. St Kilda have kicked 4 goals, 1. And they're in control of the footy at half forward here through Ryan Burns, who pokes it infield and finds the skipper Jack Steele, still 60 from home.
Yeah, St Kilda 4 goals to zip in this final term. Jack Steele enormous in the final term last week, right when his team needed it. Sets it up here, looking for a marker, going up Owens, doesn't mark. Warple at the full. Hawks trying to handball it out of their D50 and out of pressure. Under pressure, Newcomb rattles a handball through the congestion and releases a teammate in McDonald, who kicks up towards half forward. Moore's dragged down, he'll get the free kick. It'll go the other way, it'll go to Sinclair in fact. Bruce, the offending party rather. Sinclair goes short to the man we nicknamed the Wind earlier.
He's running like the wind. Kicks out wide toward Billings. Now to Crouch. That's an inverse torpedo that's gone about 1.5 metres straight into the lap of Newcomb. Like he didn't slide through his hands. Warple's kick was dangerous. Knocked down by Burns. Hands it off to Butler. One for the road for the Saints. Butler with 4 on the day. 39 points is the St Kilda lead. We're almost back where we started in that second term. 19-6, 120 to Hawthorn 12-9, 81. We're 19 minutes through the final quarter.
Well, all that excitement, the way that Hawthorn played in that third term, it's just unfortunately hasn't amounted to anything, has it? St Kilda have just been all class in this final term. Their ball movement, particularly through the middle of the ground, they're running in numbers. Again, they're not doing anything fancy. They're just running around the Hawthorn defenders that, for the most part, are relatively stationary, and particularly getting out the back. Butler's been the beneficiary of finding a whole heap of space in the forward 50 today, and he's kicked 4 goals and as well deserving.
4 goals on the day. What an effort for Dan Butler. We mentioned he does tend to cash in against the bottom 10 teams. Sinclair in the middle. High left foot kick out towards half forward. Gresham fighting after it at ground level. Frost there. Gresham steals it like a thief in the night. Runs inside 50. Off to Higgins. Flying snap is missing. Left-hand side. Ian Cohen downstairs.
Well, your high-flying hero, Cooper Sharman, might be grounded for a little while. He's just talking to the doctors and the physio at the moment and pointing to his left hammy. Nothing drastic, but he's obviously just given it maybe just a little tweak. Trying to fly and hit the roof, I would think.
He's been cleared for takeoff a number of times this afternoon. Have to put him back in the hangar and get the maintenance crew to sort him out. Wingard on the outer side wing for Hawthorn. Handball infield to Impey. Now to Ward, back to Wingard. Works his throw through the traffic nicely and then whips a little left foot kick out the side to Impey, who goes inside the forward 50 looking for more. Filippo coming over the top. Brockman chasing it toward the boundary line. Can't keep it in, and a throw in 40 metres around from the Hawthorn goal.
So after it looked like we'd have a game for a long time, all of a sudden they're sort of threatening the highest lead of the game again. 42 as big as it got. Currently at 40. Forward 50 stoppage though for the Hawks. Meek hooking it down strongly. Straight onto it though, Billings. Handball out to Webster for the Saints, and a long kick out towards the wing. Free kick will go the way of Caminiti. Whistle on the play, he'll have it on the wing. City side of the ground, 0437 774 774. Keep your text coming. A reminder after this, we're heading to West Coast to North Melbourne. There's Caminiti. Thinks he can take on the man on the mark. He can. Kicks a high ball towards half forward. Cordy caught behind, puts a fist out, brings it down in front, close to the boundary line. Out of play it goes. Throw in 60 around from the attacking goal for the Saints. They lead by 40 points. They led by as much as 42. They've kicked 5 goals to zip in the final term.
Ball comes spinning back in. Joel Peterson, Ben Cameron with you on Grandstand AFL. Brad Saul, Karen Peterson, your experts. Ian Cohen on the boundary. Owens inside the forward 50 to Burns, who flares the kick wide and finds Higgins, who's not had the sharpest day in front of the sticks with 2 goals too, but he's already got a couple in this final term and looking to add a third. 31 goals on the season for Jack Higgins. Best return in any year of his young career. For 3 on the day, he lent it. He willed it to come back after he started it outside that right-hand goalpost. It clatters into it. You could almost hear that from our ABC broadcast box. And they just keep inching it closer to that high water mark of 42 points. It's now 41 the way of the Saints.
Jarman Impey with the kick-in duties. A long out towards Ryan Wood goes up for the Saints and marks. At half forward, looks short. Filippo marks just beyond the attacking arc. Sinclair slinking by, wanted the handball. Filippo says no. Sinclair offers another lead and Filippo ignores that. Don't like his chances here. Mateus Filippo, much short of confidence. Said when he was drafted he thinks he's best suited to a big Victorian club, playing on the big stage. I loved it. Here he comes. Left foot. Won't have the journey to the goal square it goes. Weddle brings it down, follows up at ground level. Handball away to Nash. Ward kicks laterally across the goal mouth. It's good for the Hawks though. Hardwick away to Sicily.
Sicily to Impey. 24 today for Sicily, so fair cry from his round 10 effort of 43. Here he is again. Got clattered into by Wood. Handball straight to Battle. He's kicked the Battle, in fact. Then Moore got dragged down by Filippo, who's a little bit sore after that collision as well. Gee, Steele got run over by Hardwick. 2 hard nuts. Picked up by Wood. Handball off to Crouch, who's already got 3. Around the outside of the boot to full forward, or Caminiti upstairs. Second bite of the cherry, couldn't pull it in. Handball almost went to the umpire from blank. It was scooped up by Hardwick. Out to Meek. Turnover, Steele. Moore diving across his kick. Got it from Sicily. Released Wingard by hand. Broadcast side wing.
Here they go down the wing. Do Hawthorn. Short kick coming from McDonald. Away to Warple to McGuinness. Out in front of Bruce. Webster there with him. One out in the cage. Bruce gathers. Slick onto the right boot. Brilliant Bruce. 6 for him. He's had a day out. His team haven't. St Kilda by 35 points, 19-8, 122. Plays 13-9, 25 minutes into the fourth.
6 as a small forward is a good day, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a losing team.
Yeah.
What a player.
So dangerous when the Hawks move the ball quickly and he's allowed space to run back into like that. His early body work running back towards goal. Finn McGuinness just putting it out in front.
Yeah, it was a clever kick, wasn't it? He just put it to space and allowed Bruce to go to work.
Chris says, come on, give us another Bruce. There it is. Please. I'm pretty sure I heard a story. Bruce, his cousin, I forget his name, the former coach of the Manly Seagulls, is that right? And when he rolled up, he used to wear a helmet. Is that true?
Yeah, he wore a helmet his first year or two, I think.
Played a lot of rugby league growing up, Luke Bruce, out in Temora in country New South Wales. An equal career best 6th goal, so 5 times now for Bruce kicking 6 in a match. Never got 7. So that'll be the rooting interest from here, perhaps, for certainly Hawthorn fans and maybe a fair few of the neutrals. Crouch picks it off at half-back for the Saints. Kicks inside forward 50 and blank. Able to take the mark for Hawthorn. Hands it off to Day. He showed a little bit of the footy to Billings and then low kick outside the defensive 50 found Wingard. He comes back in field to Ward with a handball. Wingard ran straight into Caminiti, dropped the footy. Umpire said play on. Ball spills out toward the boundary line where it'll be tossed back in line with the front edge of the square. Again, in terms of the rugby league markings on the ground, out of the 30-metre line on the eastern touch line, it'll be tossed back in. 27 played final term, Saints by 35.
Trent Barrett is his cousin I'm trying to think of. Meek doing the ruck work, down to Wingard. Feeds out a handball away towards Nash. High kick to half forward for the Hawks. Here's Ryan underneath it. Wilkie, as he so often does, takes the defensive mark for St Kilda.
A few tired bodies out there now.
St Kilda by 35. Wilkie kicking around the city wing, coming up, unable to mark Caminiti. At the back, they go after it still. Ball on the ground. Cordy trying to pick it up. Spills out today for the Hawks. Will retreat with the handball. Back to Hardwick. All the way back to Frost inside the defensive 50. St Kilda by 35.
Frost to Impey. Impey across the defensive 50 to McDonald. Only missed 4 games since making his debut. The second year, Connor McDonald. 37th game this afternoon, his second year of footy. Measures the kick nicely to Wingard. Now to McKenzie. Inside the 50 to Day. And the milestone man playing game number 50 immediately rolls onto his right boot. He is such a beautiful kick of the football. Will Day's got 2. And he pegs one back for the Hawks to take them to 14-9-93. St Kilda 19-8, 122. 28 minutes played, final term on Grandstand AFL.
It's all class, Will Day, isn't he? I'm trying to think what sort of a player he's going to turn into in 3 or 4 years' time.
Where do you think he plays his best footy?
I think he's most damaging around the ball, because we've seen his ball use inside 50, decision making, kicking it to advantage. But he's got the ability to play back as well and mark the ball.
Well, he started back today, didn't he? And then he's gone into the midfield
He was part of the turnaround that third quarter.
Yeah, he was. Yep. Just such a classy finisher. Rarely makes mistakes with ball in hand.
29 points feels about right, I reckon, as Meek wins the tap straight today.
And they talk about him as being a really strong leader as well, future captain of the club.
Chad Wingard saying to us last week on Grandstand AFL, very level-headed, very mature, knows what he wants and where he's going. Nash with the clearing kick. Towering kick inside 50 out the back. Stocker tracks it, gathers for the Saints, gets it on the boot, kicks it out on the full. And Wingard will get the free kick, the man I speak of. Long sleeves on beneath the roof.
Another friend of the program.
Yeah, he did tell us that the long sleeve band was real under Clarko. Kicks towards full forward and Wood's able to take the mark. Defensively, 29 points, St Kilda's advantage. They're going to win comfortably and move up to 5th on the AFL ladder.
The Mason Wood chant goes up around Docklands. Not quite what we've been used to seeing so far in this, hearing so far in this 2023 campaign. Ball locked up on the outer side, going to be a free kick paid out of the pack. And it'll go to the Saints. Hunter Clark drags himself up to his feet. And move it on short to Higgins. 2 goals, 3 this afternoon for Jack Higgins. Both of his majors coming in this final term. Just tries to kick it into the roof as high and as long as he can. It's bashed away by Meek. Oh, Moore copped one high as he slid in on the city wing. Comes back to Wingard. And the Saints withstand an almighty Hawthorn challenge. And they cement their spot inside the 8 with a 29-point win over the Hawks. They came with an almighty burst in the opening term, St Kilda. 9 goals after they conceded 3 of the first 4. They led by 42 points early in that second term. Hawthorn ran it all the way down to 11, but St Kilda finishing with 5 goals, 3 in the final term. End up winning 19-8, 122 to 14-9-93, and they're 5th after round 20. When the Saints go marching in.
So St Kilda fans able to rejoice in it. They move up to 5th on the AFL ladder with that win, as Joel mentioned, solidifying their place in the top 8, and finally looking like a team that is, belongs in the top 8. Brad Sewell, Karen Peterson, how did you see it?
Really entertaining game. Probably not what we expected driving in here today, but high scoring, free flowing. Both sides certainly had their moments. Both sides, huge momentum swings. And as we've spoken about, St Kilda just a super impressive first quarter. And playing catch-up football, giving a side that type of a head start is really hard to peg back. But Hawthorn had some really bright moments during that third quarter in particular. And both coaches have got some positives to take out of the game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Saul. I think the way that Hawthorn played in that second and third term in particular, they were really brave. And I think the thing that, Mitch obviously had to give him a pretty big spray at quarter time to get him going. So I'd be interested to hear if we can get hold of Wingard at some stage in the next week or so and find out what was actually said, because it'd be quite entertaining, I'm sure. But they were able to turn it on, and the difference between their best and worst ball movement is like when they're really good, they're overlap running, they're bouncing off half back, they're running in numbers and waves. Their poor ball movement, which was on show early in the game and late in the game as well, was when they were really stagnant. They were going east-west across the ground, but with nothing to kick to down the line, and they just looked like they were stationary, all across the ground. So there's some real positives to take when they did it well, and some real learnings to take when they did it poorly. The one thing that you want to see is you don't want trends to start to develop, with younger teams. And we talked throughout the broadcast around how Hawthorn, they're a young team, they're an up-and-coming team, and they're going to run out of steam. They did it last week. They conceded 5 goals to none against Richmond last week in the last term, and they've done it again today, albeit they kicked the last 2 goals of the game, which is a positive, but they still gave up 5 goals, and when the game was on the line, they weren't able to show up.
So we are staying down on the ground for the Blue Ribbon Cup presentation, which is just about to take place. We will bring you that here on Grandstand AFL. Just repeating, St Kilda 19-8, 122. Winners over Hawthorn 14-9-93. So St Kilda winning by 29 points as I think we're right to head downstairs to our on-field MC. He's talking, but nothing is coming out of the mic. So hold up. False start. It was a little bit like that for Hawthorn. Actually, they started well. They kicked 3 of the first 4 goals before St Kilda piled on the next 9. So just waiting now to head downstairs.
Thank you to everyone for joining us here today for the Blue Ribbon Cup. Today has been an opportunity to honour Sergeant Gary Silk and Senior Constable Rodney Miller, who lost their lives in the line of duty. 25 years on, they are still remembered. Congratulations to the St Kilda Football Club for winning this afternoon's match. I'd now like to welcome Jimmy Miller, the son of Rodney Miller, to present the cup to the winning captain, Jack Steele, and for Jack to share a few words.
So Jack Steele, this afternoon the captain of St Kilda, 23 disposals for him on the day in another winning effort.
Firstly, thanks to the crowd for coming out. It's always a pleasure to play in the Blue Ribbon Cup against the Hawks every week. To the Hawks, thanks for putting up a fight. It was a really good challenge for us, and well done to the boys. Cheers.
So short and sweet from Jack Steele.
Thanks, Jack. In the spirit of the Blue Ribbon Cup today, the presidents of both football clubs each nominate a best on-ground player from the opposition team. I'd now like to welcome Jonathan Silk, the nephew of Gary Silk, to present the best on ground for today's best Hawk as voted by President Andrew Bassat. Congratulations to James Warple.
James Warple winning the award for best on ground as voted by Andrew Bassat.
I'd now like to welcome Wendy Steendam, Acting Chief Commissioner of the Victoria Police, to present the Best On Ground medal to today's Best Saint as voted by President Andy Gowers. Today's Best Saint is Brad Crouch.
Brad Crouch kicked 3 goals, an equal career high over the course of the afternoon, 32 disposals, 3 contested possessions, 8 clearances.
Thank you once again to everybody for coming out today for today's Blue Ribbon Cup.
And 12 score involvements for Brad Crouch, the number that jumps off the page, while for Warple, 30 disposals, 10 contested possessions, 7 clearances and 8 score involvements for the Hawks. What do you make of the 2 best on grounds for the respective teams?
I thought Crouch, I had Crouch as the most influential player on the ground, so That was well read, I think, by Andy Gowers.
Would you have made a case for any other Hawk over the course of the afternoon?
I thought Will Dale was the most influential Hawk, although he only had 22 disposals. And he kicked 2 goals and had, I think, he's the highest inside 50 entries for Hawthorn as well, and was the main man in that third quarter to turn the game.
So St Kilda just milling around on the ground. They're signing a few of their footballs, and they'll be handing those out in the crowd before they head down into the rooms. We're with you for about another 20 minutes before we send you off to West Coast and North Melbourne. Clint Wilton, Mitch Turner, Shane Woden, Beau McDonald and Jenny Wallace, at which point we'll take you there, but hopefully an interview before then. Did we see enough from St Kilda today to suggest that their game is back trending in the right direction after a very iffy period?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I think we saw a 2023 version of St Kilda.
Yeah,
their good is very, very good. There's a very big gap between that and their worst.
We're going to find out really quickly where St Kilda sit. So next week they've got Carlton, followed by Richmond, Geelong and Brisbane. So
good luck.
Look, all 4 of those teams, I don't know where Richmond is. Someone will have to correct me. Richmond's probably not in the hunt. Well, they still are, but probably not really.
It reiterates how important today was for them.
Well,
drop today, I mean, they're almost certainly likely to miss.
Look, to answer your question, they did what they needed to do today. I don't think there was anything in their game today that made people stand up and take notice. They led a team which, ultimately are on the rebuild and probably shouldn't have won today, even though we all tipped them. They let them back in the game, and that's disappointing from a St Kilda's perspective.
Second highest score they've conceded all year, the Saints, as well. So, and by the way, just on Richmond, they're 11 points up on Melbourne at quarter time, so 5-4 to 3-5
in that
game.
Is anyone prepared to say that St Kilda won't get in? Like, they're sitting in 5th now. Well, they're half a game in.
It's so close that if they lose all of them, which I don't think is out of the question, they won't make it. So there's a real chance that they don't make it, which is why it was so important for them to bank today.
So they get 11 wins if they win out from here, or if they lose out from here, and you think that it's probably 12 and maybe 12 and a half that'll get you in, because there's teams like Geelong and Richmond that have the half game as a slider.
So, I mean, there's every chance, and it feels rough to say that to them, because they haven't fallen beneath 6 all year, and they're 5th at the moment, but it doesn't feel like they're playing like that team, and coming up against those sides, it's going to be a reality check.
And they lose another soldier today in Jones, who goes down, and maybe Sharman, as Koza told us late in the game, going down, and he looked like a really lively target up forward. So that's been the thing about them all season, is that injury list has been insurmountable. They've done a pretty good job so far, but that's going to just get tougher and tougher as the weeks go on.
And then the other issue we were speaking about with St Kilda coming into the game was whether they were able to make the most of their inside 50. So since round 5, they've been one of the worst sides second worst side at converting inside 50s into scores. And today they went inside 63 times for, 27 scores in the end, which is a pretty good effort from St Kilda. And I think they'll be happy enough with that. Very accurate as well, kicking 19-8.
Yeah, their inexperience in their forward line, and I think that might come back to hurt them as we get closer to finals and deep into finals as well. I put it this way, even if they do limp into finals, if they get 1 or 2 wins from their next 4 games and manage to get in, I don't think they're going to be the team that's going to do any damage in there. So I'm not sure too many teams at the moment on current form are going to be looking over their shoulder worried about what St Kilda are doing in September.
Let's head down into the rooms. Ian Cohen, if they're not there, they won't be far away.
They are indeed coming in with their Silk Miller medals as well. Zach Jones is on crutches. He's actually got his knee strapped as well as the ankle, so it might be a real lower leg issue for Zach Jones. Eric Banner is in the room, so all St Kilda stars, and here's the song.
When the Saints go marching in, oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, how I want to be a St Kilda. Oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, when the Saints, oh, when the Saints go marching in, go marching in, oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, how I want to be a St Kilda. Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
So there you have it. They're pretty relieved, I would think, given the way Hawthorn came back at them. But disappointment for Zach Jones. Hopefully we get to speak with Dan Butler, who slotted a couple today.
All right, yell out to us, Koza, when you do get a chance down there, and we'll catch up with Dan Butler. St Kilda winning by 29 points, 19-8-122, plays 14-9-93. Elsewhere, it is Richmond by 2 goals early in the second over Melbourne. What did we see from the young Hawks? Luke Bruce, of course, not one of those at 32. He booted 6, but we did see a debutant in Brandon Ryan kick a goal, probably should have had 2. Will Day in game 50, incredibly impressive. Mitch Lewis, who's the top end of the young brigade, very strong again, and the dash of Weddle and Co off halfback. What impressed you the most?
I think their ability to rebound after a really poor first quarter. They got themselves back in the game, and they were for 20-25 minutes in that first quarter they were nothing but witches' hats. But to get themselves back to within 11 points, I think is a really important learning for the young group. And you couple that with their inability to stem the flow. They take away more from this game losing it than had they have ended up pinching it, because it would have been theft.
Yeah.
Theft. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, still laughing at that. Look, there was a lot to like about Hawthorn. I think at the moment, because there's no expectation on Hawks, anytime that they show glimpses of being really good, put it this way, if they're in the top 8 and had thrown out that performance, we'd be sitting here with a completely different story. But given where they are in their development, the new system that they're trying to play under Mitch with a whole heap of young guys, their midfield, you can see what they're trying to do. You can see the future that they've got with those young stars. The age profile of their list is really encouraging for them to be able to bounce back from, like what you said, Sully, with when St Kilda was able to really get rolling in that first quarter, the way that Hawks were able to stem that in the second term. So there was a lot to like, and if you're a Hawthorn supporter, I don't think you've lost anything by that performance today. You're proud of you guys for being able to get back in. You expect them to be tired in the last quarter and have spent those tickets. So, I don't think they lost anything today amongst their supporters for sure.
They're always a player in sort of free agency trades and stuff, the Hawks, and clearly they're not settled, but they've also prospectively they're going to have the 3rd pick in the draft potentially, depending on then bids for players and trades and all that kind of thing. Where would you like to see them go? Is there a particular area you think they can bolster with a high pick?
That's a good question. I mean, they're still missing the Jack Gunston replacement, and we've seen the debutant Ryan today, and he certainly showed enough to warrant to play the rest of the season out.
He sort of profiles probably more as a bit of a ruck forward, isn't he? Like a second ruck.
Centimetres. That sort of threw me a little bit. I had to double check when you threw the 200 centimetres out, and sure enough, his mobility and hand to foot and pressure is not that of a player that's 200 centimetres.
He looks like. We spoke about him being uncanny. He looks like a little bit of a money ball pickup, in the sense that you look at him and it feels like your eye sees sort of deficiencies, and it's not the traditionally beautiful manner of going about things that you would want, but he sort of gets the results. Like, he came at the footy, clunked a few, kicked a goal. His run up on his set shot was a little different, but I think there's enough there, isn't there?
And he looked like he read the game well.
He's 25.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not a first game player. So physically, he's a man, and he's out there playing that. Although he looks all arms and legs. So they're missing another forward, and possibly a solid backman as well to support Sicily.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anybody really cement that spot. The midfield seems pretty well developed now, and that core and that nucleus there is to really build out and get some experience together.
Obviously, Harley Reid's being talked about in dispatches as the number 1 pick, but you've got Daniel Curtin, the young West Australian key position prospect who had a really good championships. Zane Dersma starred for Vic Country in that final game of the championships. At sort of a half forward, 190 centimetres odd, maybe not quite the Gunston size, but might have the versatility to play a little bit of everywhere, similar to a Will Day in terms of his profile. So, there'll be an interesting watch around the draft, Hawthorn, in terms of where they go and what they do, and whether they decide, do we want do we want to take another 18-year-old or do we want to maybe get a 23, 24-year-old because we do have some equity at the draft? But I think they've got 3, 22 and 77, so they don't have that sort of mid-round pick that you can move around with. So maybe they want to take 3 and parlay it later on into 2 first-round picks. Their next step in terms of their list build will be really interesting.
Yeah, and whether they offer a new deal to Chad Wingard, whether he stays or possibly goes somewhere else, and we could speak about that with St Kilda and Jade Gresham, whether he remains at the club or possibly departs to join Karen Pedersen at Carlton and hang out down there at Prinny Park during the week. The other game, just rolling on, scores level between Melbourne and Richmond as it stands at the moment, 5-5-35 apiece. So Shea Bolton just soccering it through on the goal line, so Richmond back out by a goal.
We're headed to Perth Stadium next as well, Benny. So West Coast Eagles and North Melbourne. Jack Zeeble is the sub after retiring, announcing that he'll retire at the end of the season. And Elliot Yeo is the sub for the West Coast Eagles. So a couple of veterans donning the vests, so to speak, in the late game this afternoon.
Just repeating here, if you've joined us late, Tom Campbell running some laps. 19.8, 122, plays 14.9, 93. St Kilda winning by 29 points over the Hawks in the finish. St Kilda still in a meeting as it stands at the moment. Ross Lyon telling them, get their recovery right, just follow the process and we'll go again next week.
Tom Campbell at his third club, just running laps around there. So he played for the Bendigo Bombers in the VFL in his way through to the AFL. The Bendigo Bombers folded in 2012. So that's how long Tom Campbell's been around. He's still running his laps. I think he's played 56 games in 11 seasons or something, but still very dedicated to his craft. It's good to see.
Someone's cheering him on too. He's the only man left standing on.
I feel like everyone should be cheering him on.
Yeah.
At Ballarat yesterday, they actually were doing their run-through, so the substitutes that didn't get on the ground, they were doing them on the North Ballarat Oval out the back. So 4 Western Bulldogs players, Jordan Sweet, I think James O'Donnell was out there.
Which is almost worse, because everyone leaves to go to the car park, which is next door, so everyone sees you. That's the one game you should do it on the main ground.
So there's 3 Western Bulldogs AFL-listed players, and then 2 11-year-olds having shots at goal at the same end of the ground.
That's great. That's what you get out in country footy. Just the interesting talking point out of the round so far, the Alia head clash with Lockie Jones at Port Adelaide. You spoke about it a little bit earlier already, Kez, but the AFL will launch an investigation into the handling of it by Port Adelaide. What was your immediate reaction?
Well, I spoke about this with Corby earlier today, and of course they're going to launch an investigation into it. It's a pretty ordinary look. And the one question that I've got from it is, what's the process to trigger the HIA assessment? So it's really clear the process, once that has been triggered, where it goes and whether the player passes or doesn't pass. It's a really clear process. But what is not clear at the moment is when it is to be triggered. And the example, the question I've got is, what's the discrepancy between the incident where both players had clearly had a clash of heads. Both players were relatively limp on the way down to the ground. They laid motionless for a period of time. What's the difference in triggering one player getting the assessment and the other player not? That would be the question that I've got to ask coming out of that incident, but I'm sure it's going to be really publicised and heavily talked about this week.
Absolutely. That'll be a big talking point over the next little while. Let's head downstairs into the Saints' rooms. Dan Butler is with Ian Cohen.
Thanks very much, Dan. Indeed, you're right. Dan's been kind enough to join us. 4 goals from 17 possessions today. Not a bad haul, but the Hawks made you earn it, didn't they?
Yeah, for sure. We knew coming into the game they're a very threatening side, and they've shown that in a few games this year against some quality opposition, so we knew we had to be at our best, and it was pleasing to get it done.
What do you think was the instigator, the trigger for the Saints to actually put it on in the last term? Because in the third term it was all Hawthorn.
Yeah, we just kind of spoke about our first 3 quarters and what they looked like, and we probably dominated that first quarter and let them back in. So just to go back to what we did in the first quarter, and it was pleasing we could implement it in the last.
Just before we go upstairs, Zach Jones obviously hobbling around at the moment. Have you spoken to him at all? What's the latest on his leg injury?
Yeah, not 100% sure. I think it's his knee. Not sure how bad. So thoughts are with him. Obviously had a bit of a tough run with injury, so hopefully nothing too bad.
Karen Pedersen from the Blues and former Hawk Brad Sewell upstairs.
Dan, well done today, mate. What was Ross's message when he took you into the room straight after the game?
Yeah, look, he was pretty positive, and happy that we could get the job done. As I said, they've played some bloody good footy, regardless of their position on the ladder. And we just probably implemented our plan going into the game. So to tick that off, it was a bonus.
Your best is so good to watch as a spectator, but there's a gap between that and your worst. How do you bridge it?
Yeah, it's obviously tough. We've been in a bit of a rut the last 6 weeks with up and down results, and today we definitely felt like we got that Saints brand back, a bit more free flowing and a bit higher scoring, which is nice. And I think we just got to keep working and learning. We've got a young forward line still, so just keep learning those patterns, and so hopefully we can start bringing that good footy into the next 4 weeks.
Dan, well done today. It's Karen Peterson up here. Have you guys started talking about finals yet, or does that conversation get started at Clubland?
No, it doesn't, especially with Ross, it certainly doesn't. He probably doesn't look at it as much as us players do, but everyone in the footy world knows that the top 8's so tight, and we're just got to show up every week. We've got a tough run the next 4 weeks, so we're looking forward to Carlton next week, which should be a good game.
Ross will call it round 25, I reckon. That's how he rolls.
Yeah, that's it.
You mentioned you got a pretty tough run home. You got Carlton, Richmond, Geelong and Brisbane. What are the things that you guys need to get right to get over the line and I'll call it, you get into finals?
Yeah, look, I think if we bring that intensity we did today, we can, go with any team, and any team is beatable on the day. We've seen a few upset results this weekend, so we know that every team's going to be, up for the fight each week. So we just got to keep trying to bring our best and see what happens.
Dan, any banter with your brother during the week? Of course, being on the Hawthorn list.
Yeah, a bit of banter. Unfortunately, he played VFL yesterday, so early in the year he got me done when he was playing AFL, so unfortunate he wasn't playing today. I could get him back to 1-1.
We joked about Ross calling it round 25. He called grand finals round 26 when he was at Fremantle. I'm very reliably informed. What's your favourite piece of Ross Lyon phrasing that you've learnt since he's been at the club? Because I hear a lot about taking it from the class to the grass and all kinds of other different things.
Yeah, class to the grass. I'll stick with that because there's a few other ones I probably shouldn't say on radio. But some of his one-liners, as good as I've heard. So love sitting in on the meetings.
I'm very reliably informed as well that you've caught the golf bug. That you can't get out there enough and playing a lot of golf. How is your golf game going?
I do play a lot of golf, but unfortunately my handicap suggests that I don't. I can't get it any closer to singles. I'm at 12 at the moment, so I just can't get any lower, unfortunately. I'm a bit too inconsistent.
That's good going, 12 though.
There's a lot of people out there that can only dream of that, then.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, great to speak to you. We'll let you go. Very up and about. Congratulations on your performance in the St Kilda win.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
There is Dan Butler with us here on Grandstand AFL. Loves his golf.
Just going to stare out into the middle distance and dream of having a handicap of 12.
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it?
And complaining about it.
He's stuck, though. He's stuck on 12. We haven't got the votes, have we? I'm a little lost here.
Yep,
All right,
I'll have a go.
For us, Sully?
I've given 1 vote to Will Day. I thought he was the most influential player for Hawthorn. 2 votes to Wanganeen Miller. He was fantastic for the Saints, and 3 to Crouch, who ended up with 30-odd and 3 goals.
Do you know what I like about that, Sully? You weren't swayed by Warple getting the medal. You thought, nope, I'm steadfast in my belief that Will Day was the best of the Hawks, so that's the way my votes are going. Happy with that, Kez? You get it right?
Hard to argue with that.
What are we expecting? We're about to head to the game between West Coast and North Melbourne, the 2 cellar dwellers. Who wins?
I don't know.
Not football.
The North Melbourne supporter in me, Ben, is terrified to bet either way.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. I just don't. It's really hard to get a read on.
Yeah,
West Coast have been better, and North Melbourne have been mildly okay, but they've just got no track record to suggest you could really back them either way.
No.
Nick Larkey will probably kick 6, whether they win or lose. I think we know that much. He's having, and Oscar Allen probably kick 5. They're just 2 standout players in those 2 sides.
Okay, put them on the line. You tipping North?
Yes. Yep.
I'll go West Coast.
I'll say West Coast only because it's over there.
I'll say North just to keep the peace.
2-2 split. I like it.
Well done.
There we have it. Out by 7 points, Richmond at the moment. over Melbourne in the other game. If you wish to listen to that, you can do so on the ABC Listen app, which is streaming everything, basically. That's all you need to know. Download it and get cracking.
Women's World Cup.
We've got the cricket tonight. We had the rugby union last night.
F1.
We don't have the F1, unfortunately.
Oh, not here.
But everything else is on there. You can catch it there. A big thank you to everyone here. Joel, thank you to you, Kez. Great to see you on Grandstand AFL Sunday earlier. Sully, Ian Cohen downstairs. Coolest tech in the business. Jules with us here today. He's doing a double shift. He's got to go to the Women's World Cup now, I'm pretty sure.
He's been doing all kinds of stuff this weekend, Jules. He's a man of mystery.
He is a man of mystery, the beekeeper. The West Coast Eagles and North Melbourne coming up. Clint Wilden, Mitch Turner, Shane Woden, Bo McDonald and Jenny Wallace to bring you that. It was St Kilda, 19-8, 122. Winning over Hawthorn, 14-9-93. A 29-point victory that keeps the Saints in the top 8. They're 5th with a hard month to come. Forgot to thank Lauren Borden, Loz. Flawless back in the studio once again. We're sending you out west. The Eagles are north coming up. Goodbye from here.